With the days getting longer and the sun starting to shine, UMass Boston baseball has returned to Monin Park. The Beacons have established themselves as a top team in New England, year in and year out.
Lopez up with it. He goes to second for the 27th out. And 7 years later, UMass Boston is going back to Appleton, Wisconsin,
reaching the regionals in each of the past 2 years.
1-1 curveball hit high and deep to left field. John going back. He's just going to watch it fly. And UMass Boston is in the lead for the first time in Game 14.
Winning their first Little East Conference regular season title in 2016.
This is hammered left field. Murphy crushes it. A grand slam.
Winning the LEC tournament in 2017.
Strike three. The Beacons win the LEC tournament championship.
Earning a trip to the College World Series in 2017. The Beacons opened 2018 by earning their first ever #1 national ranking.
A chance for a second inside the park home run of the day, and Pinella slides in safely.
As they rack up more and more accolades, there's one thing that stays true. Compete every day and play blue-collar baseball.
Line drive, base hit, UMass Boston win.
The 2018 Beacons are looking to leave their mark in the history books. This is UMass Boston baseball.
Hello and welcome to Monin Park here on the Harbor campus of UMass Boston, Boston College High School, for a tremendously big contest between the University of Southern Maine Huskies and the UMass Boston Beacons. The Huskies moving back into the national rankings today at 22nd in the D3Baseball.com poll, 28th in the ABCA poll. UMass Boston back into the top 5. They've been ranked in the top 10 all season long. UMass Boston moving up from number 8 to number 5 in the D3Baseball.com poll and number 6 in the ABCA poll. A huge matchup between the top 2 teams in the Little East Conference and the top 2 teams in New England, and both teams are red hot. The Beacons have won 11 in a row, their third longest winning streak. Southern Maine, since losing in their conference opener, have put together a 9-game winning streak. One of those streaks will end today. UMass Boston last year in a split of the season series ended a 15-game Southern Maine winning streak. So a chance for maybe the Huskies to get some revenge, or the Beacons to continue to hold the Huskies number. The Beacons, we take a look right now at the all-time series. Southern Maine holds an all-time edge against every team, a big all-time edge against every team except for Eastern Connecticut. But you see the numbers there. The Southern Maine Huskies lead 43-15. Put it into context, though. They led 29-0 at one point. UMass Boston has won 15 of the last 29. They hold the edge since May of 2006, and the Beacons have actually swept the Huskies in 2007, 2010, 11, 12, and 2016. So this is a team that has caused Ed Flaherty's squad a lot of problems. And last year, the Huskies won up in Gorham, but in Boston, they suffered their only conference loss of the year, 9-1 here in Boston. The Beacons got a tremendous outing from Joey Rogers on the mound, and Nick Herzog hit a big home run, a 3-run shot with the Beacons leading 2-1 in the middle innings to make it a 5-1 game, and the Beacons rolled from there. Push along and take a look at the LEC standings. We talk about these teams being the top teams in the Little East Conference. This could go a long way to determining who wins the LEC regular season title and earns home field advantage. These two teams have won the last 2 LEC regular season titles. Winning the regular season title means nothing in the postseason. When UMass Boston hosted it in 2016, it was 5th seed Eastern Connecticut State. Last year, Southern Maine hosted it was 2nd seed UMass Boston, walking away with the title. But it's certainly nice to play on your home field, sleep in your bed, and not have to worry about hotel food and hotel beds. So a little bit of impetus there. Rhode Island College, the surprise team, they're 4-2 right behind these two sides. The rest of the teams in the middle of the pack, Eastern, Keene, and Plymouth, with UMass Dartmouth and Western both at 0-6 in a really bad spot about midway through the season with only 6 teams making the LEC tournament. Here's a look at our 4 things to know. You're talking about 2 of the premier teams in New England. Right there, the only 2 teams ranked in either of the national polls, number 1 and number 2 in the New England Intercollegiate Baseball Association coaches poll. Southern Maine's been very good this year on the road. They're 6-5 in neutral site games, 5-0 at home, 5-1 on the road. Most of those games coming during this 9-game winning streak. Beacons have had the Huskies number, outscored them 32-11. They've never lost here in Boston at Monin Park against Southern Maine, a perfect 3-0 record that included an elimination game win back in the 2016 tournament that not only ended Southern Maine's LEC tournament but ended their season, as the winner of that game advanced in the LEC tournament. UMass Boston, by way of a 3-0 record against the Huskies, moved past Southern Maine into the number 1 spot in New England in the regional poll that week and earned the only at-large bid back in 2016. Last season, Southern Maine ended up as the regular season winner, lost the tournament, but because they won the regular season title, they were the team that earned an at-large bid. So even if you don't do a great job in the tournament, by virtue of winning the LEC regular season, it might be enough if you have some good numbers as well. And you see the bottom part, both sides sit in the top 3 in every major category. These teams are very balanced. UMass Boston, a slightly better pitching team. Southern Maine has a slight edge in some offensive categories. The Beacons are very good defensively, but Southern Maine is strong as well. So no real weaknesses for either side. Take a look at our player to watch. Typically, we focus on position players. Today, the guy is Joey Rogers. When the Beacons have held an advantage against Southern Maine, it's because they have better pitching midweek. These 2 teams playing the Tuesday series, every other conference matchup throughout the regular season for both sides, a pair of Saturday games. So both teams will go with the guy who's not one of their top 2 pitchers today. The question is, do the Beacons have the advantage with Joey Rogers? He's been a big game starter for UMass Boston throughout his 2-year career. Sophomore out of Dighton, Mass. Started game 1 last year of the LEC tournament, game 1 of the NCAA Regional, and game number 1 of this season. So he's the guy for UMass Boston behind JT Morin and Fernando Burgos. Hasn't had his best numbers as a sophomore, but has come along as of late. You see, making his 15th career start, 79 and 30 innings, 56 strikeouts to 28 walks, a pretty good ratio. And we'll see what he can do today after having a tremendous outing a season ago. And let's take a look at the highlights from that outing as the Beacons earned a 9-1 win, scoring the final 9 runs in the victory over the Huskies, who had won 15 in a row going into that conference contest.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Monin Park. It's Little East Baseball for you on the Beacon Broadcast Network.
Could be going back in with a fastball.
There's the pitch. It is a curveball. He struck him out. Looks back to second. Here's the 1-0. It's hit hard to third. Boudreaux's down on it. Going to go to second for 1, on to first. In time, double play. 5-4-3. They go to get him. He has struck out 27 times. His batting average on balls in play is astronomical as is this fly ball towards the wall. And gone.
He hit that one through the wind, too.
The 9th home run of the year for Dylan Apworth, to a similar spot there in his last at-bat. That one's hit right back up the middle for a base hit. They're going to send the man from second. Mantoni coming around. The throw will be cut off. It comes into third, and we have a tie ball game. RBI base hit for Luke Nagel. 10 for 14 on base pass this year. Started to go. They caught him leading. The throw down is in time. They got him. Anthony Searles with the pick to retire the side. And he takes this one, rips it down the left field line. Fair ball is going to roll all the way to the wall. Danielson around first, headed for second. He will get in there, standing a leadoff double for the pinch hitter.
Why?
Danielson, small lead at third. He's running, it's bunted down. There's no play at the plate, it's off the glove of Fortier. Everybody's going to be safe. Lefty on the mound, maybe they're trying to steal home, but the suicide squeeze worked. That one's lined hard to first, and now on the flip side, a double play. Looks back to second. There's the shift. He is going to swing away. He hits it hard into left field, heading back towards the wall. This ball is up. This ball is gone. A 3-run home run for Nick Herzog breaks the game open. It's 5-1 Beacons.
Great call by Brennan Igerbro not to have Herzog bunt. Just a fastball down the middle, and Zog positive over the left field monster.
Here's the pitch. He struck him out right through it. Hit back up the middle, a base hit. They're going to send the man from third. There is no throw in it, 6-1 Beacons. Lopez scores an RBI single for Chris Fowler. Hit right back up the middle. Kaufman has it and just leaves the ball on the mound. Huskies leave one man on, no hits, no runs, no errors in the inning. Grounded back up the middle, could be two. Ranging over is the shortstop. He's going to go to first. They'll get the one. No, the umpire called him safe.
Safe, he beat it out.
So a run's going to score. Pitch showing bunt, gets it down, first base side. Pitcher comes in, Lawrence looks at the plate, doesn't have it, throws to first. For the out, but another run is going to score. Here's the 0-1. Hit down the first base line, that's a fair ball, that's going to score another. Lopez around first, heading to second, he'll slide in there. It is now 9-1 Beacons. He is now 5 for 10, now 500 is poker. First base side behind the bag, heading back is Fowler, looking over, makes the catch and slams into the wall. A great play by Chris Fowler to finish it off. The Beacons extinguish the 15-game winning streak for the Huskies and take this one by a score of 9-1.
And welcome back to beautiful Monin Park here on the campus of Boston College High School in UMass Boston for a pivotal Little East Conference matchup. It's a relatively nice spring day. It was absolutely pouring buckets of rain and windy and in the 30s yesterday. Today we've got some sun, cloudy, a little bit windy, but temperatures closer to the 50s. Beautiful baseball weather for a winter/spring that has been pretty terrible across the board. Take a look right now at the lineup for Southern Maine. They don't have a ton of depth offensively, so these guys have been seeing a lot of work this year. It starts with Zach Quintal, junior out of Elliott, Maine, a former UMaine Black Bear at the Division I level back during his freshman year. Jake Dexter, a utility All-American a season ago. He starts at second, also the team's closer. Dylan Hapworth is the big bopper, led the entire conference, was the Rookie of the Year a season ago in home runs. Devin Warren's in the cleanup spot, a very impressive .424 batting average for the center fielder. Andrew Hillier is one of the few impact freshmen for this year's team. Hillier, who hits fifth and plays first base, a redshirt sophomore out of Bangor, Maine, two-time All-State player in high school. Andrew Olzak, the very dependable shortstop, hits in the sixth hole. Tanner LaBerge, maybe the one big surprise in the lineup. He's the DH, just 9 at-bats on the year. But with Anthony DeGifico as a left-handed hitter, Ed Flaherty electing to go with the guy who's a little bit less unproven, but wants that righty versus lefty matchup. The same thing happens with Jason Comalayan, another righty versus lefty matchup. He's also one of the team's better hitters as a catcher. Sam Triana has been hitting ninth and playing third all season long. Really quickly, we'll bring you the numbers on Joey Rogers. First, the defensive lineup. Well, now we'll show you a quick look at Joey Rogers before we get this game underway. Joey, we've already talked a bit about him, our player to watch, making his 7th start. That's tops on the team. 3-1 with a 3.56 ERA, 30 1/3 innings, 27 strikeouts to just 12 walks for the sophomore out of Dighton, Massachusetts, who is coming off a pretty good start the other day. 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned against Brandeis. Has had a couple of difficult games, but has faced some really tough teams, including St. John Fisher down in Florida, where he went 6 innings, got the win, allowed 7 hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts versus 2 walks. Quickly 1-0 here to Zach Quintal, make it 2-0. Breaking ball a little bit tight. Behind Rogers, we'll just give you the names. Anthony Cessary's out in left, Wanderson Pinellas in center, Nick Herzog out in right as Rogers misses low, 3-0. Around the infield, Eddie Riley's at third, Charlie Hughey at short, Dave Murphy at second, Chris Fowler at first, and Ryan McCormick behind the dish. This is the group the Beacons have been going with all season long. So Rogers finally catches the outside corner, 3-1. You see it there. This group has been starting pretty much throughout the Beacons' 11-game win streak that includes 6 consecutive wins in conference play. 3-1, just a little bit low with the breaking ball and a 5-pitch walk. That's a really good sign for a Southern Maine team that the one thing they don't do all that well is walk. That's been one of their few issues in terms of on-base percentage. Southern Maine with just 64 steals in 22 games coming into the day. Brings up Jake Dexter. If you're familiar with the Little East Conference, you recognize the name Dexter before maybe the name Jake Dexter. His older brother Sam was a draft pick of the Chicago White Sox, 23rd round back in 2016. Hits it softly through the right side. That's going to end up in the outfield, and it's going to be first and third unless Herzog can gun him down. The throw is offline, and just like that, a 5-pitch walk and a soft single through the right side have put runners at the corners with no outs against Rogers. And this is not the guy in the Southern Maine lineup that you want to face with runners in scoring position. Dylan Hapworth, an all-state football player in high school at Winslow High School, was an LEC Rookie of the Year last year, a D3 baseball third-team All-American. All he did as a freshman was hit .394 with 14 doubles, 4 triples, 9 homers, and a team-best 42 RBI in 41 games. This season, his numbers are a little bit more pedestrian, but that's not a huge surprise. The first pitch in on the hands with a breaking ball, 0-1. Hapworth, as a sophomore, has played in 20 games, hitting .385, second on the team. 30 of 78, 24 runs scored, which is second. 7 doubles, second as well. Just 4 home runs, which is third in the conference. So Rogers looks over, and he will go to first, the soft pickoff move. Hapworth is added 14 RBI. He is tied for first on the team with 22 strikeouts. In the midst of an 8-game hitting streak where he's 16 of 30 with 12 runs and 4 RBI. Popped up on the infield, and that will get out of play. 0-2 now. We'll see if Rogers can get a quick strikeout. Hapworth last year was the lone Southern Maine player to have much success against Rogers. He had 2 hits in the loss, including a solo home run. Hit a home run in both games against UMass Boston, both coming by way of the solo 4-baggers. We've got timeout called. Tom Ryberg's behind the plate. Mark Delaney is on the base pass for today's conference contest. We're just 3 batters in. Southern Maine with the leadoff walk, and then a soft signal from Jake Dexter. Rogers, the look in, the 0-2, bounces up there, 1-2 now as McCormick does a nice job to keep it in front. Joined now by our previous director and longtime UMass Boston catcher Anthony Searles, and this is a tough spot if you're going to have early command issues against the Southern Maine team that always seems to be a top hitting team. Is that's a beautiful breaking ball called strike 3. Hapworth was not expecting the curveball, and what a response from Rogers after a slow start.
Yeah, it's a great curveball right there. Yeah, it's been a little wild. I don't know. I wonder if it's the cold, maybe the wind. I wonder what's going on with Raj. Normally a guy that doesn't struggle with command, so it's interesting to see. But it seems right there that he's fallen into a groove. His curveball's getting there, so maybe that could be a get-me-back pitch if he's behind an account.
Brings up Devin Warren, the redshirt junior center fielder out of Smithfield, Maine. Attended Messalonsky High School, one of a number of players who attended Messalonsky. Leads the entire conference with a .424 average, 39 of 92. Rips it, and Riley makes a diving play. That could save 1, if not 2 runs, and that is why UMass Boston has loved using Eddie Riley at third base. Not just the defense, the offense has been there, but Kyle Boudreaux, and this is not to take anything away from Kyle, probably doesn't make that play.
Yeah, Kyle has a great glove. Like you said, nothing to take away from him, but Ed is just so agile. He's quick. I mean, he could play every position in the infield. But it's great to really see Ed find a home at third. He's looked very comfortable there. I know he had a tough time shortstop down in Florida last year, but it's very good to see him at third, and he's made some outstanding plays for the Beacons over there.
Brings up the first of the Andrews, Andrew Hillier, followed by Andrew Olzak if it gets that far, as the Beacons have gotten back-to-back outs against two of the top hitters in the entire conference. Hillier takes a pitch under the hands there as Rogers has tried to get it inside on the righties. Hillier, a redshirt sophomore out of Bangor, Maine, hitting .380 on the season with 9 runs and 10 RBI in 12 games. Swings and misses 0-2, and it looks like we're seeing a completely different pitcher these last 3 batters than we saw from the first batter in one pitch to Jake Dexter.
This is the Joey Rogers we all know and love and we've seen all year. So I think he might have used, like I said earlier, he might have used that curveball as a get-me-back pitch, kind of find his mechanics a little bit, get that front foot out, see what he needed to do there.
Runner takes off, ball hit over to Hughie, has to go the long way to first, and Fowler the reach. What a big turnaround from Rogers, the strikeout looking. A great play from Eddie Riley over at third base, and then the strong throw from Hughie, despite first and third with no outs. UMass Boston gets out of it. We'll take a quick commercial, head to the bottom of the first, bringing the Beacons lineup, and the numbers on Southern Maine starting pitcher for this pivotal contest.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
We'll take a look at UMass Boston's lineup for the first time today. If you've been following UMass Boston on the Beacons Broadcast Network all season long, no surprises here, brought to you by Keegan Werlin, LLP. The Beacons have been going with this same group for the last 7 to 8 games. The big names in this lineup might be the combination of Kyle Boudris and Anthony Cesare. Boudris, game-winning hit in Game 1 on Saturday against UMass Dartmouth. Anthony Cesare had his first collegiate home run in that one. If these two lefties can continue to hit well, UMass Boston gets even deeper in one of the deepest lineups in the conference. Take a look real quick at the defensive lineup for the Huskies. Again, a very similar look if you've been following Southern Maine. Hapworth in left, Warren in center, Quintal in right. Triano's the third baseman, Olzak at short, Dexter at second, Hillier at first, and Kamalainen is behind the plate for Ben Lambert. Real quick, let's show you the numbers on Ben. And this was interesting. Southern Maine had a ton of different options. The only guy who's a clear weekend starter at this point is Gage Feeney. But we look at Lambert, sophomore righty out of Saco, Maine. Spent his freshman year at Assumption, where he had 11 appearances, 5 starts, 2 and 3 with a 5.15 ERA. This year making his third start in 9 appearances. 1 and 2 with a 2.82 ERA. He's third on the team with 22 and a third innings. He's a strikeout pitcher with 25 strikeouts in those 22 innings. 12 walks, 16 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned. But he's a guy who's got a versatile arm for Ed Flaherty. He can go twice in one day, which he's done this year, pitch back-to-backs or pitch deep into games. So maybe why Flaherty at least is going to elect to start with Lambert, who has struck out 14 in his 2 starts this year, 7 in both starts. Game 2 against Rhode Island College when he went 8 innings, allowed 2 earned and a big win. And then in 6 2/3 innings against TCNJ as Riley goes down looking for the second time in the past 3 games to start the bottom of the first. And already we've seen really good breaking stuff from Ben Lambert.
Yeah, and I think that's really what's going to help him here. He's spotting up what looks like a slider right on that outside corner. Got Ed looking there, and that's huge, especially on a Tuesday where you might not have your ace on the mound. To have a guy like this that could really come out and throw the ball, and it's going to compete for you and have a chance for you guys to win this game at the end.
Lambert, the sophomore out of Saco, Maine. Breaking ball bounces up there, 1-1 to the Beacon sophomore catcher out of Cumberland, Rhode Island, Ryan McCormick. Sits in the top 5 on the team in average hits, RBI, runs scored, doubles, and stolen bases. Guy who can do a little bit of everything. He's a key pinch hitter as a freshman, and now has taken over the starting role after Anthony Searles exhausted his eligibility a season ago. 1-2 here to McCormick, as that one is well outside, 2-2. And this is a big spot where Joey Rogers had some difficulties able to get out of it. How big would it be right now if UMass Boston can potentially scratch across a run after that deflating top of the first for Southern Maine?
any run would be huge at any point in the game, Seth. But definitely here, after, like you said, like the inning that Rogers just had, it'd be good. I mean, he threw a ton of pitches. It'd be great to see your opponent and your opposing pitcher kind of have the same feet with a lot of pitches, get some guys on, kind of see how he is from the stretch, and really see how his off-speed works from the stretch, because that could be a huge difference in pitchers. He could not spot it as well. He could leave it hanging, and especially with these guys coming up with Murphy and Fowler, you never know what could happen.
Jason Kumalainen had that pitch foul-tipped off of his throwing hand. That's why we had a slight delay. I thought it was going to be strike 3. So McCormick with new life at 2-2 with 1 out in the bottom of the first, well outside with the fastball. And it looks like, and you know a lot more about pitching than I, it looks like he's opening up a little bit too much on that fastball, and that's why he hasn't been able to locate it here to McCormick. Missed badly a couple times. That's a much better fastball, and there's strike 3 after a couple extra pitches thrown.
Just like you said, yeah, I think he kind of realized that too and closed off that front side a little bit and spotted that on the outside corner. But I think that could be why. I think he is trying to spot away from those lefties. And that could be why he is flying open just a little bit, but figured out on that last pitch and got McCormick swinging.
He'll face Dave Murphy, the biggest hitter in the LEC, at least to date, leads the conference with his 10 home runs. He's also top 10 in the conference with a .373 average, leads the conference with 41 hits, 33 runs scored, and tied for first with 32 RBI. One of the most dangerous players in the conference, who's ahead in the count at 1-0. 1-0 to Dave, breaking ball that ends up off the knee guard there of Komalainen, and it's 2-0. How do you attack Murphy in this situation? I know that there's not a lot of great ways, but do you maybe give him anything to hit at this point, already down 2-0? Popped up on the infield. They challenged him with a fastball, going over towards the dugout and making a jumping effort, but unable to make the play, is Andrew Hillier. So the Beacons catch another mini break.
First of all, that was a great effort by the first baseman there. That's a tough little area right next to the dugout. You never know how close you are to that roof of the dugout and the fence. But going back to Murphy here, I think they have a good little game plan here. It seemed like he went slider early, and fastballs in. You kind of gotta catch Dave off guard. I know it's hard to do, but it looks like they have a great game plan here. As another slider comes in for a strike. And you kind of got to get Murphy guessing, kind of got to get him off his game, and hopefully he could pop one up, not take it too deep.
2-2 to Murphy as they spot up outside. Instead, they come high and in. Again, it seems like that fastball control from Lambert has not been there in the early going for the sophomore. Southern Maine put runners on the corners with no outs in the top of the first, but Joey Rogers able to work his way out of damage. The other side, Lambert looking for a 1-2-3 first, and he's got a strikeout swinging there. He strikes out the side in the bottom of the first. Head to the second inning. We'll take a look around the rest of the conference real quick, as UMass Boston Southern Maine, one of 2 games going on in the LEC today.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
We'll take a look right now around the conference, and Anthony, the big game for me going into today was UMass Dartmouth at Rick, and with the other 2 games getting postponed, UMass Dartmouth 0-6, Rhode Island College at 4-2, and the tough part for UMass Dartmouth is their number 1, Matt Cronin's probably the best pitcher in the conference. He should win the LEC Pitcher of the Year if he can continue. He's allowed just 2 earned runs, but they're 0-6. They've already been swept by UMass Boston and Southern Maine. And Rhode Island College is one of the top hitting teams, and Matt Cronin's not available today. Their number 2 isn't available. If you fall to 0-7 in a 14-game schedule with just 6 teams making it in, you could miss out despite having the best pitching staff in the conference. And that would be a wildly disappointing season for a team in Southern Maine, or a team in UMass Dartmouth, rather, that has been very competitive in the LEC tournament each of the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, with this 0-6 start, they're still a team you can't count out. Like you said, they have one of, if not the best pitching staff in this LEC. Like I said, there's a team you can't count out. 0-6, 0-7. You never know what can happen. But like you said, 7-7 really could just take you out of the tournament. So I mean, they got to fight. And the tough part is Rick's playing really good ball right now.
Top offensive team in some of the major categories.
Absolutely, and we have an ex-UMass Boston player in Raising Cone over there who's playing pretty well. So we've been following him, seeing that the team is doing really well. So you never know what can happen, but Dartmouth really needs to step it up and really prove themselves. I mean, they've been a team year in and year out, but, I mean, I don't know what's going on this year, but they got to figure out how to score some runs for that great pitching staff that they do have.
Soft chopper is fielded by Riley, who comes across and throws out Andrew Olzak for the first out of inning number 2. Not quite as big of a highlight reel play from Riley, but still not an easy one for the redshirt junior. He'll be back for a 5th year. He's listed as a senior this season, but will use his entire eligibility. Tanner LaBerge, this is the guy that I was a bit surprised to see in the lineup, but it makes sense if you're worried about a tough lefty-lefty matchup. He's 4 of 9 on the year with 2 runs and 3 RBI. Got the start on Friday against another tough lefty in Western Connecticut State, Shane Bierfeld, and that's really surprising when you have a guy like DeGifico who started so much. Are you showing more confidence in LaBerge, or is it that you just are worried that maybe you're not going to get any production out of your DH spot with DeGifico struggling against left-handed hitters potentially?
I think it's just more confidence. Lefties are hard, man, and especially in this conference with Rogers and Bierfeld and even a Warren on a weekend. So I think it's just more confidence coming from a certain guy, not trusting another guy, but I think it's a confidence booster, and it's just hopefully it works out for him.
Well, LaBerge goes down swinging on an absolute nasty slider as it's chopped softly foul from Komalainen. LaBerge now 4 of 10 with 2 strikeouts on the season. He's making just his 2nd start of the year as a hitter. He's also one of the team's pitchers this season, as it's Komalainen, who's the other freshman who's seen time amongst the position players. Freshman out of Gorham, Maine, right in the home of the University of Southern Maine. Played basketball and baseball at Gorham High School, where he's a 2nd-team All-State player. He's appeared in 15 games this year, hitting .347 with 10 runs, 13 RBI, and 4 doubles. 1-1 to Komalainen, and again, that late tailing action that catches the outside corner, how do you sit on that as a hitter, or how do you prepare to hit that where it seems like Rogers all of a sudden has found his best stuff?
If you're not looking for it, it's a tough pitch to hit. And honestly, the only time you really would have to swing at it if you're not sitting on it would be with 2 strikes and just fighting it off. But Rogers has great movement on all his pitches. That's just another one in the arsenal that you got to be aware of as a hitter.
Follows it with a curveball that dived out of the zone, but Komalainen got a bit of it, and now he holds up. They issue the tag. They'll check down at first, and he did not go. So after a little bit of miscommunication between everyone involved, Mark Delaney will take us at least one further pitch into this top of the 2nd as Rogers has settled down after allowing a 5-pitch walk and a single to start his outing. He's retired 5 in a row, and that one just missed. The entire left side of the infield thought it was strike 3. That pitch in on the inside corner, just a bit too far in. The count runs to 3-2 here to the 8-hole hitter, Komalainen. 3-2. That one a little bit further down and away. So a 7-pitch walk, and that might have just been a bit of frustration there for Rogers, who thought he had already got out of the inning on 2 separate instances.
Yeah, that's a little frustrating as a pitcher, but on the other side, it was a great battle. I mean, to fight off that curveball, foul it off with 2 strikes is huge. Like I was just saying, the movement from Rogers is incredible. So you got to be aware of that late fastball movement or that curveball. And then Rogers even went a little lower with the curveball that McCormick thought was a check swing. He thought he didn't hold up, and he tagged him. But, I mean, he held up, and he worked a great count, and he got it in his favor. He sat on one pitch and didn't get it.
Brings up Sam Triana, the third freshman in this lineup, showing bunt, unable to make contact, even though the pitch was out of the zone, 1-1. Triana, the freshman third baseman out of South Portland, Maine, is actually listed as an outfielder, but he started at third base all season long, making his 23rd appearance. He's third on the team with 21 runs scored out of the 9-hole. 7 of 7 on the base pass, 12 walks, paces the team, but he also has 21 strikeouts. Takes the fastball on the outside half, 1-2. Looking at Komalainen over there at first base. On the season is 1 for 1 on the base pass, so probably not a guy you're worried about going, but Rogers will throw across anyway. 1-2 here. Two teams bringing in a combined 20-game win streak. 9 in a row for the Huskies, ever since losing their first game of the LEC season back on March the 31st. UMass Boston's won 11 in a row. Breaking ball bounces away from McCormick. This has a chance to be a pass ball, strike 3, and the runners will both reach. So Rogers' third strikeout of the game, but the pass ball will allow the runner to reach, and now it's the top of the order with 2 down.
The right fielder, number 6.
So Rogers has now thought he's been out of the inning on 3 separate occasions, but a pair of pitches that were called balls that were close allowed a walk, and now the pass ball put 2 aboard for the second consecutive inning. Nothing else, this is going to put the pitch count a little bit higher as Quintal, who walked on 5 pitches to start the game, hits one over to Hughie, and it's a 1 pitch out on the fielder's choice. But still, Southern Maine making Rogers work a little bit in the second. We head to the bottom half of the second inning. It'll be 4-5-6 for the Beacons as they look to put the ball in play against Ben Lambert.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
4-5-6 for UMass Boston. Fowler, Herzog, and Boudris here against Lambert. And Anthony, in doing my preparation for this game, I did a little bit of prep on all the possible starting pitchers, and I thought it could have been one of 5 different guys. From seeing the stuff that we saw from Lambert in that first inning where he's able to strike out 3 of the Beacon's better hitters, why do you think the choice maybe was a little bit more obvious to Ed Flaherty than it seemed to be to me?
The off-speed. Off-speed is huge, and it seems like Lambert really has his slider down today, and it seems like it's his go-to pitch, whether it be an out, whether it get me over strike, and that's a hard pitch to hit, especially with these lefties. You get sliders inside. I mean, he could dot up a fastball on the outside corner. So I think that's a great matchup here, and it's playing out pretty well for Southern Maine at the start.
Looked like a changeup there that tailed away from Fowler onto the outside half, 0-1 now. And now he brings one back just off the corner, 1-1. Very good late motion on these pitches from Ben Lambert, the Assumption College transfer. One of a number of transfers on this Southern Maine team. 1-1, swung on and missed, couldn't catch the low fastball. And Lambert has a chance for 4 consecutive strikeouts to start the game. Not something we expected to see today from one of the top offenses in the entire Little East and all of New England. 1-2 offering, chopped foul. Fowler will get to see at least one more pitch.
Seems like Fowler has the right idea at the plate right now. He saw the first pitch change up, not a pitch you want early in the count unless you're expecting it. Watch that slider on the outside corner, and then he attacked the fastball, which is going to be huge. That's especially with a guy like Lambert that can control slider the way he does. And see Fowler reached out there a little bit over the plate, but that's the pitch he's looking for. So that's a great pitch from Lambert right there. You throw it a little out. The batter's going to go chase it, and the best he's going to do right there is roll over. So it looked like Fowler has the right approach, but it seems like Lambert just got him there reaching a little bit.
Easy play for Jake Dexter at first. We'll bring up Nick Herzog. Herzog, who had the big hit a year ago against Southern Maine, a 3-run shot to blow open a 2-1 game. Beacon's everyday outfielder, although what portion of the outfield he'll play will change from day to day, inning to inning. Today he is out in right field. We'll probably see him at left at some point, possibly even center. 0-1 swung on and missed, couldn't catch up to the high heat. And Lambert continues to pitch ahead of UMass Boston here through the first 5 batters.
Seems like Herzog has the same approach as Fowler, letting that first pitch slider go. I mean, they could just start sitting on that slider. I mean, he's thrown it a ton. He's probably thrown it 80% of the pitches so far. But it could be a pitch they just sit on. But early in the game, you don't want to hit his pitches. You kind of want to get yours. So it looks like, and Herzog swung at that fastball there. He throws another slider and strikes out Herzog. I mean, that pitch is just nasty right there. Maybe they start sitting on it, start getting ahead. It's going to be interesting to see how the Beacons hitters approach this.
That's four strikeouts in the first 5 batters. We apologize for the lack of graphics right now. We'll continue to work on those technical difficulties. Bottom of the 2nd inning, there are 2 outs, no one on, and we're still scoreless here between 5th-ranked UMass Boston and 22nd-ranked Southern Maine. 1-0 to Kyle Boudris just off the corner. And if anybody is going to solve Lambert, it's a good chance it will be Boudris, who's one of the best hitters on the Beacon throughout his career. 154 hits going into today's contest as he takes a breaking ball that time looked like it was a little low, but say the backdoor breaking ball caught the inside corner just above the knees. And the count is now 1-2 here to Boudris, the junior DH out of Medford, Mass, who has played at third base his entire career before a hamstring injury took him out of the lineup, and Eddie Riley has taken his spot in the field.
Just speaking on the behalf of Boudris and his hitting abilities, there's just an ongoing joke in the dugout in the locker room. When Booty has a bad day, he still gets 2 hits out of it. So I mean, he's a tough guy to get out. He knows what he wants, and he's just such a natural hitter. He could do a lot, and he could hit it anywhere he wants. He can hit with 2 strikes. He's very comfortable with it, which is very rare, but it makes him the hitter that he is.
3-2 pitch on the outside corner. Boudris thought it might have been a bit too far outside. 5 strikeouts in his first 6 batters. Ben Lambert matching Joey Rogers 0 for 0. We head to the 3rd. We're in for a potential pitcher's duel here at Monin Park.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
This is just game number 1 for UMass Boston during a busy week. It's even busier for Southern Maine, but we'll get to that in a moment. Take a look ahead for UMass Boston. They're home again tomorrow against Salem State. This is all part of an 8-game homestand. 2 more against Keene State on Saturday, and then at Southern Maine next Tuesday for the second half of this home-and-home. Look at Southern Maine, though. They were supposed to play Wheaton this past Sunday. That game was postponed because of terrible weather, but they're about to start a big homestand. They have Endicott tomorrow, team that was nationally ranked last week. Babson, a team that's at the top of the NUMAC on Thursday. Then they've got 2 against Plymouth State Saturday. Salve Regina, a team that was one of the top teams in New England a season ago on Sunday before playing UMass Boston next Tuesday. They also added game against Wheaton Thursday of next week. So you're talking about the top teams in New England all in the span of about 10 days. Both of these teams, if you want to be hot, this is the right time playing all these top teams, as it's swung on by Dexter, two-hopper over for Hughie, who throws it across, and Rogers continues to really handle this Southern Maine lineup thus far. He's allowed just the one single, a softly hit single through the right side by Jake Dexter to bring up Dylan Hapworth. And there's always one guy in the lineup that at least I think you kind of have to go out and attack and focus on. This is the guy you don't want with runners on base. This is the guy that you, if he's going to hit a home run, hit it with just allow it to just be the one run. And this is the guy in the conference that everyone probably feels that way. As Hapworth last year was pretty much unbeatable. He was hitting the ball as far as anyone I've ever seen in the Little East.
He's a guy that you don't even want him hitting with nobody on, because he could do damage as he grounds out here to Eddie Riley, throws it over for out number 2. But he's just a pure hitter. He's a guy that you could really throw him anything, and he could hit it. Bases with anyone on, bases empty. He could do it all. He's definitely a guy, and that says a lot in the Southern Maine lineup, because you could say the same for their 1 through 4. But yeah, Rogers gets in the ground out there, and that's huge because he could do some damage.
Brings up Devin Warren, who had a line drive, the hardest hit ball thus far, but it ended up being caught by Eddie Riley. Play of the game thus far, as it prevented any runs from scoring and was part of 3 consecutive outs that Rogers got with runners on the corners to keep Southern Maine scoreless back in the first. Bounces up there 1-1. Warren came in leading the entire conference, hitting .424 on the day. Pretty good hitter to have behind Hapworth, as it's popped up foul. Long run from Fowler, but he's not going to be able to have quite enough room. Warren missed all of the 2016 season before coming back as a sophomore and hitting .353 with 27 runs, 29 RBI, 8 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers. So talk about the Southern Maine lineup, and there is not an easy out. Just like UMass Boston. It's 1-2 in there for strike 3, and Warren knew it. Well, Joey Rogers isn't matching Lambert strikeout for strikeout, but he's not too far behind. 4 strikeouts through 3. And we head to the bottom of the third, 7-8-9. UMass Boston still looking for their first base runner of this Little East Conference contest.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Wind whipping just off the harbor, blowing from left to right. We saw, well, at least I saw, during batting practice for UMass Boston, Jack Carrington, who's not a big-time power hitter, doesn't have an extra base hit as a beacon thus far, hit one out over my head into the Southern Maine bullpen during batting practice. So something to watch for lefties, just like this guy, Anthony Cesare, who hit a non-wind-aided home run the other day off of Matt Cronin. Only the second earned run that Cronin had given up all season long in over 25 innings of work. 0-1 to Cesare, fouls it off. And that is huge news for a guy who played 10 games as a freshman, all as a pinch hitter, missed his entire sophomore season, and has come back and been one of the Beacon's top hitters statistically here as a junior.
Yeah, Cess can hit. He's got a good lefty stick. That home run was no cheap hit. It was an absolute bomb into the dugouts over there, or the bullpens, excuse me, in right field. And I mean, Cronin throwing low 90s definitely helped a little bit, but Cess can hit a little bit as he flicks one there with 2 strikes in the center field. He could really do it all. He's he could really be at the top of this this lineup. But I mean, the Beacons just have so many weapons. They can hide him down there in the 7-hole, and he could do some damage.
Now a 6-game hitting streak for Cesare, in which he's 7 of his last 12. He started in 10 consecutive games in left field after starting the year as a DH/pinch hitter. And the Beacons have found that they can not hide, but they can use a guy who's maybe a little bit less defensively strong in left here at Monon Park, just like Fenway, as Wanderson Penales fouls off his bunt attempt. Penales, one of those guys to watch. Even when they're giving themselves up on a sac bunt, he's got enough speed to potentially beat it out. So the Beacons trying to play some small ball here after finally getting their first base runner. Charlie Hughie on deck behind Wanderson Penales, the junior transfer. Penales tries to get the butt down and does. This is a good bunt, picking it up the long throw and making a good throw is Sam Triana to get the speedy Wanderson Penales. That'll go down as a 5-4 sac bunt, I believe. And it's the first out of the bottom of the third. Brings up Charlie Hughie, another guy who's very strong on the base pass. As Ed Flaherty came out. And I think the only question they could possibly be having here is whether Penales potentially stepped out of the batter's box on the bunt. Two umpires having a short conversation. And they're going to rule him safe at second, out at first. There was no throw in behind the runner at second base, and there's one out for Charlie Hughie, the Beacons shortstop out of Sandy Hook, Connecticut, who's riding a 7-game hitting streak. 9 of 27, 3 runs, 5 RBI, and 5 for 5 on the base pass for the junior who's making his 25th start of the season. Strike one to Hughie with the fastball in the outside half. Cesare with decent speed out there at second, but certainly not one of the Beacons' faster base runners as they fake as if they're going to come in behind. Dexter will back off. 0-1, another hard pitch that comes in low and outside, 1-1. First time that Lambert's had to pitch with runners on. The 1-1 breaking ball just a little bit low. This is an interesting strike zone from Ryberg. Sometimes you have to wait on those low pitches because he has been giving some of those low strikes, and then sometimes he's not quite as charitable.
It's been 50-50. You really got to wait and see what he calls, but I feel like Lambert's going to get the majority of strikes for him.
Hughie hits it out to left. Going back on it is Hapworth, and he'll round and get in front of that ball. A nice job by Hapworth to keep Cesare at second base.
As I was saying there, yeah, I think Lambert's going to get the majority just because he's been around the zone as opposed to Rogers. He's been a little wide. His are more visible balls, so I mean Lambert could be working his way with a little outside, little inside, up and down. But hopefully he tightens the zone up and we can see some off speed. See what he could do with guys on here.
Riley took strike 3 looking in his first at-bat and takes a nasty breaking ball on the outside half, 0-1. Riley comes in hitting .329. He's third in the conference with a .481 on-base percentage. Also top 5 in the conference with 23 RBI. A lot of pop for a guy in the leadoff spot. A hard, vicious swing, but can't catch up to it. 0-2 as Riley tries to avoid back-to-back strikeouts. He started each of the last 17 games since taking over at third base and has reached in 16 of those games. Good stats for a leadoff hitter. 0-2. Swings in, maybe takes a cut at a pitch just off the corner, but you have to protect there, and it stays at 0-2. Beacons with the runner on second. Anthony Cesare had a leadoff single, moved to second on Wanderson Penales' sac bunt, and then had to stay there after a flyout from Hughie. 0-0, bottom of the third. Beacons looking for a lead. Dexter again comes in behind. 0-2, just barely chopped off. They're going to say it caught some of Riley in the batter's box, so a dead ball. And again, Riley doing, if nothing else, pushing the pitch count, which is now up to 45 for Ben Lambert here in the bottom of the third. Lambert, an Assumption College transfer. They also have a couple of D1 transfers out of the University of Maine, the only D1 school up in the state of Maine, at least a public school. And then a couple of other D2 transfers out of the Northeast 10. 0-2, swung on and missed. Lambert works around the leadoff walk. He's got 6 strikeouts in his first 10 batters. We head to the 4th. Again, Rogers and Lambert matching 1-0 for another through 3 frames.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
While we've got a moment, we'll take a look around the rest of Beaconville for UMass Boston, which means we'll take a look around a couple other Southern Maine scores as well. The Beacons and Huskies playing in softball just about 500 yards away from here on the UMB softball field. UMass Boston with an early 1-0 lead in game 1 of 2. As Alyssa Tully, the younger sister of former Beacons ace Matt Tully, had an RBI single in the first. Men's tennis in a key LEC matchup. They're 3-0 in conference play. Salem State is 2-0. That match typically would be played just back to our left, but after all the rain, they're playing at the Weymouth Tennis Club. Men's lacrosse travels to rival UMass Dartmouth tomorrow, and the track and field team travels to MIT on Saturday for the Sean Collier invite. Of course, Sean Collier was the MIT policeman who was shot and killed back in 2013 as part of the extended killings of the Tsarnaev brothers during the Boston Marathon and the aftermath. The Boston Marathon was run yesterday in absolutely terrible conditions, the coldest temperatures in the last 30 years, but we saw our first U.S. woman win the marathon in close to 30 years, and the first Japanese man to win it in even longer. 2 surprise champions as Andrew Hillier sends this one deep to center. Wind's blowing out, and that one's off the top of the wall. This could be 3. Coming over is Herzog, and Andrew Hillier has himself a leadoff triple. Little bit of wind needed, but that ball was absolutely crushed by Hillier to lead off this top of the 4th inning.
He was inches from a home run right there. That hit the very top of the fence.
So we've got no outs and a runner on third in Hillier. And at this point for Southern Maine, you've got to get a run. As Hillier absolutely crushed that ball, and it'll be up to Andrew Olzak. He's got the first chance, grounded out to third. Back in the 2nd inning, started off, and he hits it softly over to Murphy, who's playing back. Murphy will toss it across, and that's good enough for an RBI ground out as Southern Maine manufactures a run to start the 4th. Nice job by Olzak there, recognizing that Murphy was playing deep. The Beacons were in at the corners, but doing just enough to get that first run of the day in.
Yeah, with the way the pitching matchup has gone so far, 1 might be just enough to take this game.
I think we might be getting ourselves in a little bit ahead of ourselves with that comment. I mean, after all, we've seen UMass Boston go a couple of innings without a run and then erupt for a big inning. That happened in game 2 the other day, where the Beacons were down 3-1 and then scored 6 in the bottom of the 5th. Even in game 1 against UMass Dartmouth, it took them 4 innings to score a run, and then they won 2-1. The big advantage the Beacons typically have is the bullpen, with Bobby Tramandozzi, Joe McGuire, Alex Carasoto, Chris Monroe. But Southern Maine's got a great bullpen in their own right. Jake Dexter, Colton Lawrence, even Henry Curran and Tanner LeBurge, who's the DH today, have been good. So Rogers responds with a ground out and then his 5th strikeout of the game. This one swinging. Tanner LeBurge is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts in the DH spot.
The catcher, number 9, Jason
Brings up Komalainen, who walked in a full count at bat that looked like he may have struck out a couple times. And Komalainen takes a fastball that tails out. 1-0 here to the catcher and 8-hole hitter after Southern Maine opened the inning with a triple from Hillier and then an RBI ground out from Olzak, flared into right. That one keeps going back. Herzog just short of the track, and clearly the wind has picked up, pushing out here to start the 4th inning.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Bottom of the 4th inning, the Beacons find themselves trailing on their home field for the 3rd consecutive game. But UMass Boston came back in both games against UMass Dartmouth. Now the goal is to do it against Southern Maine as Ryan McCormick takes the first pitch. An easy play for Andrew Hillier, who had the big triple to the wall in center to start the 4th. And this is the exact opposite. The guy who has the good offensive play makes the defensive play, although it wasn't all that difficult for Hillier for the first out of the bottom of the 4th inning. Brings up Dave Murphy and then Chris Fowler, two guys who could quite literally change this game with one swing of the bat. Murphy went down swinging and extended it bat to end the 1st. Again, Lambert, if he has an issue, it's been the fastball, and he's well outside with that first pitch. Curveball outside, 2-0 now. Same situation as the first. What would you be sitting on here if you're Dave Murphy?
I'm still sitting on that slider, looks like Dave just was. And like you said, the fastball is just not really there for him right now. It's either he's opening up and he's throwing it away to lefties inside to the righties, or it looks like he's just pulling it too much and outside to righties. So I'm still sitting on that slider, which looks like his go-to pitch, whether he's down in the count or up, and trying to take that the other way and not do too much with it.
2-1 change up. Murphy out ahead, 2-2 now. Lambert has pitched well. He's already struck out 6 through 3 1/3. Has allowed just the 1 hit. That came from Anthony Cesare back in the 3rd. 2-2 offering. Slider just a little bit low. Looks pretty good. And the count runs full. Lambert's yet to walk a batter. Came in with 7 strikeouts in each of his first 2 starts as a Husky. This is start number 3 on the year, 9th total appearance. 3-2 pitch, in on the hands for ball 4. Might have been a little high as well. And the Beacons have their second base runner here with 1 out in the 4th. Again, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, and we have them back. So anytime we mention them, graphics come back. Maybe we'll just keep talking about them. Chris Fowler steps up to the plate. Honorable mention All-American as a junior. First pitch to Fowler, who was named the National Hitter of the Week a week ago, and he takes a fastball in on the inner portion of the plate for strike 1. Murphy does not have tremendous speed over at first. It is interesting. The wind has slowed down a little bit. Looks like in the top half of the inning, it really picked up and was pushing the ball out. Not as much on the Hillier triple. That ball was crushed, but that last at bat, Comalainen hit what looked like a lazy fly ball that pushed Herzog back about an extra 20 feet than he might have expected. 1-1 coming to Chris Fowler, and he takes a breaking ball that catches the inside half, 1-2. 56 pitches for Lambert here in the fourth, 37 for strikes. He's struck out 6 and allowed just the 1 walk to Murphy on the last at bat. 1-2 offering. Fowler again off the corner. High flare out to left. This could be difficult. Coming in and making the play is Hapworth after Triana ran about 25-30 feet, tracking that ball down the left field line. Two down. A 1-0 hole for UMass Boston after the single run in the top half of the inning. It's up to Nick Herzog now. He was strikeout victim number 4 for Lambert for the second out of the second. Brings the breaking ball to start, and it seems like UMass Boston still really has no idea what they're going to see in the count wet. Lambert's done a nice job of varying up his pitch of when he's going to throw some of those pitches.
You know, I would kind of want to think, let's go a little coach's cap early in this game in the 4th inning. With Herzog leading off right now, or up right now, 2 outs, Boudreaux on deck. You try and do a little hit and run here, get Murphy in motion, and if worse come to worse, you let Herzog with his speed lead off and let Boudreaux come in behind him.
Komalainen lost it, but doesn't get far enough away for Murphy to move. I like that idea just to try to put a little pressure on the Southern Maine defense that has seen very little work. The Beacons have struggled to put the ball in play. After all, 6 strikeouts amongst the first 9 outs. And Lambert has yet to strike out a batter here in the 4th. He's done that, struck out at least 1 in each of the first 3 frames. The other thing is Herzog doesn't strike out all that often. And with an extra base hit, you could potentially tie this game. So the 1-1 runner does take off and protecting the plate. And that's why you played 4 years under Brendan Agerbroth. So a little bit of coach's cap, but a little bit of insider knowledge as well. The flags are now barely moving out there in right. They've been whipping for most of the day. The 1-2 coming from Lambert, and his 1-2 is low, 2-2.
I think with the amount of sliders that Lambert's throwing too, it'd be a good time to hit and run. I mean, 2 strikes with Herzog here. He's got to protect anyways. Hopefully that second baseman vacates. You could just hit that slider that way. Maybe get a little first and third action here for Boudreaux.
2-2 is inside, 3-2. Dexter's already playing pretty far up the middle, a huge gap on the right side, as if they expect Herzog to go straight up the middle. That is where Warren is standing, directly behind second base. Full count, 2 outs. Murphy should be off with the pitch. He is. 3-2 pitch, swung on and missed. Herzog is strikeout number 7 on the day for Lambert, who's allowed 2 base runners through the first 4 frames. See what Joey Rogers can do about keeping the Huskies quiet in the 5th. As Southern Maine leads 1-0 in this highly anticipated matchup here in the Little East Conference.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Joey Rogers finds himself in a hole. We said he was our player to watch because we thought Southern Maine could put up enough runs where they might be able to really put some pressure on the Beacons' bats. Well, instead it's been Ben Lambert's been so good that Joey Rogers has to keep the Huskies off the board just to keep this game close right now, as the Beacons have struggled to adjust to the D2 transfer. Another ball hit hard out to center. This one a little bit more playable for Pinellas, and Sam Triana is retired. But back-to-back innings, the leadoff hitter has crushed a ball to center. This time it was closer to the triangle, and Pinellas, who has Wheels for Days was able to track that one down shy of the 420 sign.
This might be a spot here, Seth, where Rogers kind of flips the script, and he might be falling into a little pattern here that Southern Maine might have caught on to, especially with the leadoff hitter, like you said, that past 2 innings, just really jumping all over him as another hit, hard foul ball back behind us. I mean, maybe he's just got to flip the script. Maybe he's got to get him off balance. He's got to go curveballs and fastball counts and fastballs and curveball counts. See what he can really do here.
0-1 to Quintal. Knifes that one over towards the new parking lot that should open later on this year. Quintal walked and was stranded at third in the first inning, and then hit into an inning-ending fielder's choice of the shortstop to end the second. The 0-2 offering to Quintal. Rips it out to left, going back on an accessory just shy of the wall on the warning track. And Quintal did not get all of that ball. Might have been a little bit on the end of the bat, and that's a second consecutive loud out to start the 5th inning.
And you know what, Seth? I think if the wind's not really going left to right here, that might have a chance to get over the monster. If not, hit the monster for a double, maybe even a triple. But Rogers getting a little lucky there. Kind of hung that one a little bit and just stayed in the park there for Seth.
Jake Dexter, a foul ball on the first pitch. 0-1 to Dexter, who came in hitting .379, 36 of 91 with 18 runs scored, tied for the team lead with 21 RBI. The curveball is up high. 5 doubles, a triple, 2 homers in the midst of a 5-game hitting streak, make it 6 now, in which he's gone 13 for his last 26. Chops it foul. Of 26 is Dexter over his last 6. Younger brother of Sam Dexter, who was actually released by the White Sox this spring, looking to find an independent league ball team to join, was one of the top players in the Little East, a national player of the year his senior season. 2-2, swung on and missed, and Jake goes down swinging. So after a couple loud outs to start the inning, Joey Rogers now has 6 strikeouts through 5 frames. Again, though, UMass Boston needs to get the bats going here at Monin Park.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Quick look around the rest of the conference. It's UMass Dartmouth leading 1-0 on Rhode Island College in the bottom of the second, but the Anchormen, the host team, do have runners at second and third with just the 1 out. Working against Ben Lodge, who came on as reliever against UMass Boston, but gets the start in this key midweek contest for the Corsairs, who stand at 0-6, tied for last in the conference with Western Connecticut State. Rhode Island College at 4-2 sits third behind these two teams. Kyle Boudris leads off the 5th with a fly ball to dead center field, an easy play for Devin Warren out there in center, and Boudris is 0 for 2. The Beacons have just the 1 hit, and that came from the man who steps up to the dish right here, Anthony Cesare. A 2-strike single to center back in the 3rd, and Cesare was the guy who got it done the other day against Matt Cronin. UMass Boston just maybe needs a little bit of a spark here offensively, as Cesare out ahead of the changeup. Beacons team has scored a ton of runs during their 11-game winning streak, but a lot of them have come in games where they've scored 10-plus runs. Beacons managed just 2 runs in the opener the other day against UMass Dartmouth, and then 7 in Game 2. Cesare takes it low, 2-1. Prior to that, they'd scored 11 against Babson, 9 against Roger Williams, 11 against Brandeis, 13 against Western Connecticut State, 16 against Worcester State, 11 against Worcester State, and then a combined 30 runs in a doubleheader sweep of Eastern Connecticut State. 2-2 to the Beacons' left fielder and 7-hole hitter Anthony Cesare, to be followed by Wanderson Pinales. 2-2 pitch on the outside corner. That's been given all day long, and that's 8 strikeouts, a new career high as a Husky for Ben Lambert, who the Beacons continue to look befuddled by.
Yeah, and like I was saying a couple innings ago, that could just be he's been so around the zone that he's going to get that little off, so Beacon hitters have to know that. They got to protect. I mean, with 2 strikes, it's really the name of the game. You got to protect. You might not really get a pitch that you specifically want to hit, but you just got to make do with what you got and protect, especially with a guy who's been around the zone all day.
The 1-0 to Pinales, rips it out to left, but Hapworth is going to have plenty of room off the end of the bat. Looked a lot better on initial contact, and UMass Boston goes down 1-2-3 for the 3rd time in the opening 5 frames. Ben Lambert is pitching a clinic thus far. We head to the 6th. This game is flying. We're through 5 innings in 61 minutes.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. It's one of those moments you never forget.
Top of the 6th inning, and if we were betting men, which we're not, this is a Division III event, obviously any NCAA event, betting is not allowed, but if you were going to ask me whether I thought we'd have a high-scoring game, a bit of a home run derby or a pitcher's duel, I would have put heavy money on a home run derby, even with Joey Rogers, the expected pitcher for UMass Boston. You just look at these 2 lineups, and they're so consistently talented, and there's so many difficult outs, but today it's been just the 1 run from Southern Maine through 5 innings, and just the 1 big hit, the triple from Andrew Hillier to lead off the 4th. There have been 3 total hits, and one of those hits was a softly hit single through the right side for Southern Maine, who does have a 2-1 advantage in hits, and more importantly, a 1-0 edge in runs scored, as it'll be 3-4-5 for the Huskies. Hapworth, Warren, and Hillier here. And you have to feel, if you're Joey Rogers, that you have to get a 0 here to match Ben Lambert, who's been so good. Hard, high chopper. Riley takes it on the short hop, and he can't control it. That's going to go for an infield single. And just like that, it is 3-1 in terms of hits. And that was one of those difficult plays for Riley, where if you don't take it on the short hop, you might not have enough time, and just couldn't quite get the hop he was hoping for.
Yeah, you gotta attack that ball, especially on the turf. You know it's not going to take a crazy hop on you, and I mean, like you said, that's a tough play, but I mean that's the right decision there from Riley at 3rd.
So a base runner aboard for Southern Maine. That is the 5th base runner here through 5+ innings, 2 walks and 3 hits, 2 singles and a triple. And it'll bring up Devin Warren, the team's top statistical hitter, who has lined out a great diving effort from Eddie Riley at 3rd base in the 1st, and then struck out looking to end the 3rd. Rogers has 6 strikeouts. Most of them have been timely for the 2nd or 3rd outs of inning, as he'll do this soft pickoff move over to 1st. Hapworth, who's played pretty good defense out there in left field, is 4 of 6 on the base pass. Not one of their top guys, but certainly could be a threat to steal here. Again, Rogers will go over, and you have to figure if this was UMass Boston, this might be a bunting situation. But Southern Maine does not play as much small ball as the Beacons do. And with your cleanup hitter up at this point, and the next guy already having a triple to the top of the fence in center, might be looking for more than 1 run in this half inning. As this is a high ball hit out to shallow center. Hughie camps under it at the shortstop spot, and there is 1 out in the 6th. one of the few situations where it's not a pop-up to the shortstop, it's a fly-out. It was hit so high and deep enough into the outfield. Bring up Andrew Hillier, who thus far has been the offensive hero for the Huskies. Grounded out to short to end the first, and then a triple to the wall. Came in on a ground out by Andrew Olzak for the lone run of the day. Rogers again will go over to first base. Haven't seen Southern Maine attempt a steal. Well, just the one, and it ended up being a foul ball. Neither team has really generated much in the run game because of the effectiveness of these two pitchers in limiting base runners, period. First pitch, a breaking ball that bounces up there. McCormick, a nice job. And that will keep Hapworth over at first as Hillier steps up in a big spot. He played in just 3 games as a freshman when he had a season-ending injury. 23 games, 19 starts as a redshirt freshman, and now making his 13th appearance as a sophomore. Ball hit past the first baseman Fowler on a hit and run. There's going to be runners at first and third, potentially more. They're going to send the runner around third base. The throw to Fowler, and the Beacons are not going to get him in time. A perfectly executed hit and run, and Andrew Hillier is 2 for 3 with a run scored and an RBI. He's got a double and a triple to his name, and the Huskies all of a sudden lead 2-0 here in the top of the 6th.
Yeah, it's a great piece of hitting right there. You always want to do that with a runner in motion. You always want to hit behind him, and that was just a well-placed hit. And Hapworth had a great jump, and he was able to score, and that's huge, especially with the lack of hits that have been going on in this game, the way that the starters have been going.
Third base coach for Southern Maine sending Hapworth the entire way. Took Herzog a long time to get over to that ball because he was pushed over a little bit towards right center on the Beacons' defensive alignment charts, and that cost UMass Boston on that particular play. Andrew Olzak is 0 for 2 on the day, a ground out to third, and an RBI ground out to second. 0-1 to Olzak is low and outside, and now for Rogers, already down 2-0. This run out at second base maybe means even more in terms of trying to limit the damage. Giving up just the 4 hits, but a double and a triple to Hillier have been the key ones for Southern Maine as their redshirt sophomore first baseman has come up huge. And here's another hit out to the outfield. They'll hold Hillier. He had to hold it second on the ball hit just past Hughie, and all of a sudden Southern Maine has 3 hits in their last 4 batters. Got to figure UMass Boston's bullpen might be getting up sooner rather than later. It's not as if Rogers is on a high pitch count. 68 pitches here with 1 out in the 6th, 47 for strikes. But all of a sudden, the Southern Maine Huskies appear to have figured him out just a bit. No one up quite yet.
The designated hitter, number 19, Tanner LaBerge.
As Rogers looks over to the dugout to get the signs. Runners at the corners with 1 out. Rogers got out of a runners at the corners with no out situation back in the first inning, and this is the guy you want to face if you're UMass Boston. Tanner LaBerge has just 11 at-bats on the season, 4-11, but he struck out swinging a pair of times today against Rogers. Has struggled against the Beacons lefty. So Rogers, again, will look over to first base, trying to keep Andrew Olzak close to the bag, trying to keep that double play intact potentially.
This is where Rogers really needs to bear down here, Seth. He's got to focus up like this is a 4-hitter right now. He really needs a ground ball, maybe even a strikeout here against this bottom of the order for Southern Maine.
See Brendan Igerbro come out and talk to his entire infield. A pivotal spot right now. Remember, the Beacons have won 11 in a row. Southern Maine has won 9 in a row. Last year was the Beacons ending Southern Maine's 15-game winning streak here at Monin Park. These two teams came in at 6-0 and 5-1 in conference play. The Beacons trying to hold on to their lead because next Tuesday these two teams will be playing up at the USM Baseball Stadium at Ed Flaherty Field. So we're going to see a couple Beacons run out to the bullpen. I believe that's Mike Doherty and possibly Chris Monroe. And already there is a Beacon who's taken off the warm-up and begins to toss. It looks like a righty up in the Beacons pen, and everyone should be available for such a big conference contest after UMass Boston did not play Sunday or Monday.
And it looks like that could be Brian Kaufman, one of the Beacon's top relievers and most trusted guys in the bullpen out there loosening up. You got to be all hands on deck here. I know Tramandozzi went both games in the doubleheader against UMass Dartmouth. Didn't throw a ton of pitches though, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him at some point in this game too. But for right now, it looks like Kaufman's the lone guy warming up down there. Looks like some jackets could be coming off. A couple more guys getting loose, but Kaufman could be the guy here.
We're going to see a pinch hitter for Southern Maine. They don't have a lot of options, but it looks to be number 5 in your program. This is not one of the players. Oh, it's going to be DeGifico, the typical starting DH. So despite the fact it's still a tough lefty-lefty matchup, they will bring in the usual DH to replace the right-handed DH choice. DeGifico has been an everyday guy in the DH spot all season long for Southern Maine, and he'll get a chance here with runners on the corners after LeBurge went 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. So DeGifico, a sophomore first baseman out of South Portland, Maine, won the Western Maine title back in 2015, had just 5 at-bats as a freshman, 2 for 5, but is hitting .271, 19 of 70 as a sophomore with 7 runs and 7 RBI. Takes a first pitch strike. Big spot with 1 run already in here in the 6th. His team leading 2-0. We've got Hillier over at third base. He had an RBI double, move to third on Andrew Olzak's single through the left side. Third baseman Eddie Riley is way in as DeGifico asks for time. The Beacons pitch out. Count runs to 1-1, so it actually benefits DeGifico that he wasn't given time on that particular play. 1-1, 1 out, 1 run already in Southern Maine leading the number 5 team in the country by a 2-0 score. Beacons limited to just the 1 hit thus far. 1-1 offering, breaking ball that dips just a little bit low off the outside corner, 2-1. DeGifico did not play in Game 1 against Western when Western threw their ace, a tough lefty, and Shane Bierfeld had played in every other game prior to today. Went 0 for 3 in Game 2 against the Huskies' George Belizna. He's had 4 multiple hit games, but 3 of those 4 games came in the first 4 games of the season. He's safely in 15 of 21 appearances coming into today. He comes in a tough spot as a pinch hitter. 2-1. Breaking ball low, 3-1. A walk here with Coma Lane and the catcher up next would not be the worst thing because it would give you a forced any base. But again, a big inning for Southern Maine could pretty much put this game away with the way Ben Lambert has pitched through his first 5 innings of work. Rogers, a couple long looks at first. The 3-1 offering misses low, and DeGifico is aboard with a pinch hit walk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too shocked right here, Seth, to see Coach Agabro go to the pen with the stuff that Kaufman has, the movement and stuff, and then the way Raj is kind of this inning kind of going back to his first inning stuff where he's all around the zone. I wouldn't be surprised to see a short leash here.
Bases full of Huskies for Jason Komalainen, who's 0 for 1, a fly out to right, and a walk. Hits it right at the middle. Double play ball. Hughie to Murphy across, and the Beacons get out of a jam here in the top of the 6th. A tailor-made double play ball. Now can the Beacons use their defensive momentum to put a little bit of charge in their bats? We'll find out after this.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university.
Bottom of the 6th inning, as UMass Boston trails 2-0, but it could have been worse if not for an inning-ending double play ball. And now Charlie Hugie, the guy who started the double play, will get his second at bat. Hugie nearly hit by that pitch. Threw his lead left elbow forward just a little bit, but no contact. 1-0 to Hugie, the 9-hole hitter and shortstop, who flew out to left in his only at bat. 2-0 now. And for UMass Boston, sometimes you see a team get that big defensive play and then they're able to turn it into offense. Anything would help here against Lambert, who has struck out 8 batters and allowed just the 1 single through 5 innings of work.
Yeah, the Beacons just need a little bloop here. Something, they need to see something fall.
Hugie hits a shot off the end of the bat, and coming in is Warren, and he can't make the play. Hugie's going for second. This is going to be a close play. Hugie's in there in time on the double. A great effort from Warren on a ball that was hit right off the end of the bat. Initially, he went back. And the Beacons, if you wanted a bloop, that's about as good as you're going to get. A 2-base bloop double for Charlie Hugie. And now UMass Boston, this is a situation where you have to score a run. A leadoff base runner at second base. Your odds of scoring at least 1 run are at least north of 80%, if not even higher.
Yeah, it's an absolute must that this run comes in here. I mean, a bloop, that's just what the doctor ordered. I mean, Charlie is a guy that's always hustling. He legged out a double on that when it really should have just been held to a single. I mean, it was a great play in center. Can't knock the hustle there. Just worked out in Hugie's favor. And, I mean, like I said, he's just always hustling, gets a double out of there. And with your top of the order, it's an absolute must that this run comes through.
Riley took the first pitch, a slider for strike 1. Surprised he wasn't bunting there. 0-1 pitch, hits it down the third base line, fair ball. Eddie Riley answers with a double, and here comes Hugie in to score. The Beacons lead off with back-to-back doubles. Their second and third hits of the game, their first 2 extra base hits of the game, and just like that, the Beacons have cut the deficit to 2-1, and it's the same situation. Runner at second, no outs. Now you should be able to get a game-tying run if you can just execute just like Riley did, chopping it past the drawn-in Triana there at third base.
Nothing should change here for the Beacons hitters, Seth. I mean, like you said, same situation here. Runner on second, no outs. And again, an absolute must-score run there. Eddie Riley must score in this inning. Like I said in the beginning, they just need to see 1 fall. And with the top of the order coming up, it's exactly what you want. You can't give Charlie enough credit for getting on second there. I mean, right now it could be first and third here with McCormick up.
The 1-0 pitch to McCormick is on the outside corner, a fastball, 1-1. One here to Ryan McCormick, the Beacons 2-0 hitter and catcher, takes it low, 2-1. So just like that, we thought Southern Maine might have a chance to blow this game open with the bases loaded and 1 out, already a run in the top of the 6th. The Beacons answer with a bloop double and then a ground ball double, and now they have a chance to tie it or take the lead here in the bottom half. No outs with the runner on second, as Riley has the shortstop Olzak come in behind. Lambert, the long look, 2-1 is fouled off. This will get out of play, fortunately for the Beacons, and it's now 2-2 with Dave Murphy and Chris Fowler behind McCormick, and that's the portion of the lineup that hasn't gotten going yet today, but that has really been such a difficult out throughout this 11-game hitting streak. Both guys have earned LEC Player of the Week honors, National Player of the Week honors, D3 Baseball Team of the Week honors, fastball just high, and I'm really not sure which of those 2 hitters I'd rather face. Both guys have their strengths, and both guys sit in the top 3 in the LEC in doubles, homers, RBI, just 2 very difficult outs. As here comes a very important 3-2, and the 3-2 from Lambert well outside. He's frustrated, and he should be. I mean, that first pitch flared out to shallow center. Warren, a great diving effort in and out of his glove. If you make that first catch, then maybe Riley's not coming out as aggressively. It changes the entire complexion, and all of a sudden he's up to 83 pitches here with no outs in the bottom of the 6th, as Southern Maine all of a sudden has a couple of relievers up and warming up. So Ed Flaherty, legendary head coach of Southern Maine, will have a conversation with his battery right now. Brendan Igerbro, Beacons head coach, having a conversation with his base runners as well. You look at Flaherty, 990 441-4. He's won 68.9% of his games. He's coached in 1,435 games. In 16 of his 32 prior seasons, he's finished with at least 31 wins, or 30 wins. A little bit of a tongue twister there. He led Southern Maine to the 1991 and 1997 national titles. He was elected to the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame back in 2005. He's coached 13 more years and had lots more accolades. And he's made 22 NCAA appearances, including 8 College World Series appearances. As the first pitch to Murphy, ball tails up and out of the zone, 1-0. Murphy thus far struck out swinging to end the first, worked a full count walk in the fourth. One swing from him could easily give the Beacons a multiple run lead. The 1-0 to Murphy nearly catches him, ends up just off the corner, 2-0, and all of a sudden Lambert has lost that pinpoint precision with the breaking balls that was making him so difficult to hit the first 5 innings.
And I wonder if the cold's playing a factor here, if he can't get that grip, because it seems like it's just slipping out of his hand. It's not breaking as early or as late as he would really like. So I wonder if that's playing a little emphasis here. And another thing is just getting guys on. We talked about this earlier. I mean, you really got to see what a guy can do from the stretch, and especially with the hitters coming up now with Murphy and Fowler, this is a time that he's really challenged.
2-1 to Murphy. Breaking ball held up, we believe. They'll check down, and it's 3-1 now after Murphy couldn't catch up to the fastball on 2-0. 3-1, Murphy's already walked once. Lambert has issued just 2 free passes but walked the last batter, McCormick. Beacons with runners at first and second. Riley an RBI double. McCormick with the walk. 3-1 fouled off. Cue shot that might stay in there. Long run for Hillier, and he's going to run out of room. Beacons fortunate there. Another foot or two, and Hillier, who is pretty tall, 6'1", 190 and long, looks like he might give it a go. Hillier's been the offensive hero for Southern Maine with a double, a triple, an RBI, and a run scored. Bringing an update from around Beaconville after this half inning is the Beacons softball team back in the lead. Long look back at second from Lambert. Couple of looks. He's all over the place. 3-2. It was in there, but Murphy had called time, and can't blame Dave. It was wondering how many times Lambert was going to be able to look back at second, over at first, and then back towards the plate before Murphy finally gave in and stepped out of the batter's box.
You know, the best part about that timeout is now Murphy knows he was going 3-2 slider there. So, I mean, it could switch up Lambert's game here, and now Murphy kind of sees that slider getting over the plate, and it was kind of just a get me over. It was kind of right down the middle. So, I mean, it could have been the pitch that Lambert wanted. Could have just been because he knew time was coming, but could just lock Murphy in a little extra here.
3-2, no outs, 2 runners on. The Beacons trail by a run, bounces it up there, and the bases are loaded after back-to-back walks, and a visual frustration there from Lambert, who immediately threw his hand. I haven't seen Lambert show an issue with the cold, that visual, as he punches himself in the side a couple times. But Sam Triana, after that double from Riley, was blowing on his hands. I mean, Southern Maine, it's colder up in Gorham than it is here. But either way, this is not great baseball weather. The only thing is UMass Boston's playing in this weather and this wind all season long. First pitch to Fowler, up and out, 1-0. And Fowler, who is 0 for 2, a ground out to second, a fly out to left. He's been behind in the count both times. He's had to swing at pitches out of the zone to protect. If he can get ahead in the count here, UMass Boston could have a great chance to take the lead. 1-0 coming to Fowler, hits it out to center and deep. Going back on it is Warren, and Warren will make the play. The Beacons had Murphy over on second, so they will not get any of the other runners to advance, but it's a sac fly as UMass Boston nearly had a runner overrun the one runner. Fortunately, Murphy was aware of McCormick, and those two got to within 6 to 8 inches of each other. Did you see the play this weekend with the Arizona Diamondbacks? Devin Marrero hit his first home run as a Diamondback, but the base runner in front of him was so worried about potentially tagging up on a deep fly ball that Marrero was actually credited with a 2-run single and then was called out.
I did see that, and that's something you really don't see often. But, I mean, with the way this wind is carrying in this game, I was surprised it didn't get over Warren's head. That's a great play, and I thought they had potential to double up Murphy. That's a great job to get back. But like you said, he was within arm's distance of McCormick. I mean, that could have been dangerous. That could have been a double play for Southern Maine right there.
0-1 to Herzog. That one's hit shallow center. This time McCormick will tag up. It's going to be the right fielder who makes the catch. McCormick is going to head back to the bag, and that's too bad because the right fielder, if I can get my score sheet correct, because that's the one guy I didn't plug in defensively, the right fielder Quintal took a while to get that ball in. Looks like he was in between throwing it to second or third, and now the Beacons with back-to-back flyouts. They'll have to get a hit here to score a run as Fowler put a big ride on it, got the tying run in, but no advance from McCormick on the last two batters. And now Kyle Boudris, who had the go-ahead hit in game number 1 against UMass Dartmouth, steps up with 2 runners on. He struck out looking to end the second and lined out to center back in the 5th. Boudris had a couple big hits the other day, including a 2-run single in game 2 as part of a 6-run 5th. Boudris flares it out, and it's past the third baseman. They're going to send McCormick, charging his Hapworth. The throw home. McCormick slides in, and he's safe. It's a go-ahead RBI single from Kyle Boudris, and just like that, UMass Boston has rallied for 3 in the bottom of the 6th, and the Beacons lead 3-2.
You know, right before that pitch, I was going to compliment McCormick there for not tagging up on that ball to right field just because of the batter in Kyle Boudris, who was coming to the plate. Obviously pulled through as we just saw, but that's a great job with guys that can hit behind. Two outs it's not a big thing for the Beacons with guys like Boudris and Sess, the way that these guys are hitting, and the way that the guys like Booty have hit in his career with 2 outs. That's a great read on McCormick's part.
And now it's Cesare hitting it out. Quintal took a while, but it's hit right at him. And the Beacons will leave 2 on, but not before 3 runs on 3 hits, 2 walks. They leave 2, but UMass Boston all of a sudden has a lead with 9 outs to play, and we could see that Beacons bullpen coming out in a battle of the bullpens to start inning number 7. Take a look at the new Beacons pitcher, and if you're a UMass Boston or a Southern Maine fan, this name should be familiar. Brian Kaufman, who has not seen anywhere near as much work as a senior than his junior season when he was one of the top pitchers in all of Division III, a 1.03 ERA as a junior. Kaufman on the season making his 6th appearance, 0-0 with a 9.45 ERA, 6 2/3 innings, 5 strikeouts versus 4 walks. 8 hits, 8 runs, 7 earned. He's given up multiple runs in 3 appearances, all that came in the middle of his season. Since then, though, he had an inning and a strikeout last week against Brandeis, and making just his 3rd appearance in 20 games here in New England. Anthony, when you look at his numbers this year, you see a pitcher who has struggled, but the numbers last year against Southern Maine, and you caught all of these innings, last year against a talented Huskies offense, he appeared in both games, and Kaufman, if I can get it here, 8 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned, a home run from Dylan Hapworth, go figure, 5 strikeouts and a walk. This guy literally went 1 out shy of a complete game in 2 outings and held the Huskies to 1 run. I don't know if we're going to see Kaufman throw the final 3, but he's certainly capable of it, and this is the guy, Ed Flaherty's got to be dreading a little bit. The Beacons also make one other defensive change. Cesare, who ended that last half inning as a dish, is now out of the game, replaced by Sal Frosceno in center. Beacons center fielder Wanderson Pinales moves to right, and Nick Herzog moves from right to left.
Yeah, Seth, Kaufman's a guy that, anyone that paid attention to D3 ball last year knows his name. And I'm not too worried about his numbers this year, just because he's proven himself from last year. He's had a couple injuries here and there. That's hasn't been too good for him. He had a little back injury there for a little while. It kind of sidelined him for a little bit. He looked good in Florida, and then he had a little arm pain, so it kind of cut him a little short in Florida. But he did look good, and when this guy's on, he's on. So, I mean, he has the 5Ks. That's really his. He's got the slider and a two-seam that could saw you off. He's a guy, he could go 3, so I wouldn't expect it here, like you said, but he's definitely a guy that could do it. With the 9.45 ERA, I'm not too worried about that. He's just a little unlucky here and there, and he hasn't really pitched the innings for that ERA to really reflect on his pitching abilities.
Gets a 2-hopper from Triana back to Hughie for a big first out. Now it's the top of the order, Quintal, Dexter, and then if either were to reach Dylan Hapworth here. The final numbers on Joey Rogers, he didn't have his best stuff, but he kept UMass Boston in the game, especially in some big spots. That inning-ending double play in the 6th was huge. We thought Southern Maine might be able to blow open the game. We thought the Beacons were probably going to go to the pen. Instead, Rogers got out of it. So Rogers ended the game with 6 strikeouts versus 3 walks allowed, just the 2 earned runs. Chopped over to Riley on just the 1 hop and 2 quick outs to start the 7th. A ground out to short, a ground out to second. Rogers in line for the win right now. 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 3 walks versus 6 strikeouts. And it brings up Jake Dexter, who singled in the 1st, grounded out to short in the 3rd, and struck out swinging to end the 5th. This is exactly what you want to see from Kaufman. Dexter flares it off, an awkward-looking swing from the very tall second baseman. Jake stands at 6'2", 215. You don't see a lot of second basemen who are that big, but Dexter kind of had to play second growing up because his brother Sam played shortstop. 0-2 to the 2-hole hitter and second baseman, also the closer of this Southern Maine team, who's named the LEC Player of the Week on Monday. Grounds it over softly to Hughie, who will make yet another play, and it's a very quick 1-2-3 inning for Kaufman, senior out of Farmingdale, New York, who's all smiles after that first frame of work.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Wanderson Pinales, the Beacons' 8-hole hitter, a huge hack and swings and misses. That was pitch number 98 here for Ben Lambert, and really nothing going on in the pen for Southern Maine. So after giving up 3 runs all in the last half inning on a pair of doubles, a pair of walks, and then a sac fly and an RBI single from Kyle Boudris with 2 down, Ed Flaherty is going to stick with his starting pitcher. 0-2, well, he still got the stuff. That's strikeout number 9 for Lambert after not getting a strikeout in the 6th. For the first inning this game, he hasn't done that. Now it'll be Hughie, the man who led off the 6th with that all-important bloop double. You asked for a bloop, you got it. And that was really the key to that inning, as the Beacons got a couple bounces for the first time offensively today. First pitch to Charlie is a little bit low, 1-0. Charlie doubled to center. Some really good hustle. That's what I love about Charlie. Some guys would give up on that play. He was going hard the whole way and was able to beat it out by maybe a half a second to a second on a semi-close play. Came in to score on Eddie Riley's double down the left field line. 1-1, fouls it off. And he's a guy who's in there for his defense, but pretty good 9-hole hitter himself, hitting right around 280 on the season. One of the Beacon's best base runners, and a guy who's got a little bit of pop in his own right.
Yeah, Charlie was a leadoff hitter coming into this season. Hit leadoff a little bit. He's a guy that's really going to make you work. Like you see, he fouls off a pitch there. He's a tough guy to get out. He's a pest at bat, as baseball players would say. He fouls a lot off. He sees a lot of pitches. And he's just an energizer bunny. I'll tell you, man. Like I said, the digs out a double, but that just goes on and off the field. That's just Charlie's personality. He's always ready to go. He's up. He's bouncing around, but that's what he brings to the field, and it's a great quality to have, especially with a guy who plays such an important position, a shortstop, and hits in what I think is a very big 9-hole spot for this Beacons order.
Lambert would have gotten that probably in the first couple innings, but has lost his control a little bit, and that fastball just off the edge is called ball 3. 3-2 pitch coming to Hugie. Hit softly up to the opposing shortstop, Olzak, who throws across and gets Charlie Hugie for the second out of the 7th in this game that continues to fly. It's 4:37 on the East Coast. We've played 6 and change, much closer to 7 full innings in just about an hour and 37. And what I love about Hugie is he now has 20 runs scored in 25 games. Some guys would be upset moving from the leadoff spot to the 9-hole, but he's probably even more comfortable in the 9 spot with the fact that a lot of guys see a 9-hole hitter, okay, we can relax. Well, Hugie's a pretty good hitter in his own right, hitting at 278 with 26 runs scored, or 26 hits, 20 runs, 15 ribbies, and 4 doubles. Eddie Riley, who is 1 for 3, a pair of strikeouts in his first 2 at-bats, and that big RBI double down the left field line and a run scored in the last half innings. There's that big sweeping breaking ball that Lambert really had good command of early on in this game. Pitch number 111 for Lambert, who's thrown 69 strikes. The 1-2 is off the corner, bounces past Coleman. They're going to say he swung at that. Riley didn't recognize it. It's a close play at first, and it's going to go down as strikeout number 10 as Riley, who's typically a guy who hustles a lot, never thought that he swung at that pitch. And Lambert, a good job of responding to a tough 6th as he sends the Beacons down 1-2-3 in the 7th.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Take a look right now around the rest of Beaconville. This is a busy Tuesday afternoon in conference play, the rare Tuesday for both baseball and softball. So we've got a new catcher for the Beacons. Jack Harrington will come in. No update for men's tennis quite yet in a matchup of the last 2 undefeated teams in conference play. Softball, they're leading a very good Southern Maine team, 3-1 in the bottom of the 4th. Currently have 2 on with 2 outs in the bottom 4 of game number 1. Men's lacrosse, a big contest tomorrow at UMass Dartmouth, the team they traditionally play very close. And then track and field will be at MIT on Saturday. Take a look at Brian Kaufman here to start the 8th inning, a 1-2-3 7th, in which he got 3 quick outs. 2 ground outs to short, a ground out to third. I still think we might see Bobby Tramandozzi in this game, the way Tramandozzi is pitched. But if Kaufman can have it as an efficient 8th as he had in the 7th, Brendan Eigerbelt might have to bring Kaufman out for a 3rd inning. He threw 6 pitches to those last 2 batters, maybe 10 pitches total in that inning of work. And this is a guy last year who when called upon, could throw 6+ innings. He did it against Southern Maine up in Gorham, and he did in the LAC title game when he went the final 6+ innings and struck out 12 against UMass Dartmouth to lead the Beacons to their first LAC tournament title since 2010.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call for the Beacons coaching staff. Tram's been phenomenal this past week and this whole year. But like you said, Kaufman, he's a guy who could do pretty much the same as Tram. They could both go 5 if you need them to, and they can close it out, and they could really do it all. So depending on this inning here, Kaufman starts off with a strike. It's going to be a tough decision on the coaching staff here.
This is the guy you have to worry about. Dylan Hapworth takes it. Oh, they're going to say it caught the jersey. Hapworth didn't want to go, and neither did Brendan Eigerbrod, as Hapworth tried to get out of the way. If it caught anything, it caught just the excess of jersey at the front. Brendan Eigerbrod is saying that he barely moved. And this is a tough one because Hapworth wants to hit home runs. That's his MO. He's the guy who could easily tie this game up with one swing of the bat, and instead it's a leadoff base runner on the softest of hit-by pitches. Not saying anything about Hapworth there. He didn't want to go when the umpire pointed down to first base. And Eigerbrod, after a short argument, will head back to the dugout as it'll bring up Devin Warren. 0 for 3 today. Came in as the leading hitter in the conference at .424. It's lined out to third, struck out looking, and popped up to short with Hapworth over there. And again, Kaufman sawing off a right-handed hitter in on the hands, and Warren looked silly with that check swing.
Kaufman's two-seam, it just moves a ton, and he complements it well with a phenomenal slider that he has. And it could be playing Kaufman's favor here with his pitches. You can really get a double play with any of his pitches here. So, the hit-by-pitch isn't the worst thing that could happen, but you definitely don't want guys on for this part of the order for Southern Maine.
Kaufman just faked a pickoff move, and Hapworth dove in. So Kaufman really showing a little bit of swagger out there on the mound, as this time he actually throws it over. Not really a strong pickoff move for Brian, but the senior captain out of Farmingdale, New York, one of 3 captains on this Beacons roster, getting a rare appearance here at home this season. The bunt is shown. Warren back to the mound. Kaufman picks, throws down to first, and Fowler keeps his foot on the bag. That was awfully close, and it'll go the Beacons' way as the sac bunt put down by Warren. And UMass Boston gets that all-important first out. Difficult play for Kaufman coming off the mound, getting his footing, and then trying to avoid the base runner. So it'll bring up Andrew Hillier, the one guy who's had success today, but that was against Joey Rogers. And now Hillier will face off against Kaufman for the first time in his career, I believe. Redshirt sophomore out of Bangor, did appear in a decent amount of games last year. Hits it over the head of Murphy, and that's his third hit. Off on the pitch was Hapworth, and a bobble from Pinellas is easily going to allow him to score. Andrew Hillier is a home run shy of the cycle. He's got 2 RBI, and just like that, we're tied at 3 after the soft hit-by pitch. Matter of a quarter of an inch there on whether it was or wasn't, and Southern Maine has tied the game here in the 8th.
Yeah, that's the only problem there, and Coach Eigerbrod's definitely a little heated in the dugout, and I would be too with that, like you said, soft hit-by-pitch, maybe just catching a little bit of that jersey. Just comes back to bite you there, but Koff's got to bear down here. He's got to get 3 here, so hopefully he can get a ground ball here, and then looks like the Beacons have someone up in the pen. I would assume Bobby Tramandozzi, and it does look like him. Actually, that could even be Doherty. Looks like Doherty. Mike Doherty might be out there. But I do think this is Kaufman's inning here, and the Beacons got to come back and they got to answer with their sticks.
That was the 6th hit of the day for Southern Maine. They have 3 runs on 6 hits and no errors. The Beacons with 3 runs on 4 hits and no errors. Now it's an interesting decision for Southern Maine whether they'll stick with Lambert in the 8th. But again, nothing moving as that one hits the back of Olzak. The runner was taking off, and 2 hit-by pitches. One very obvious, one not so. Puts 2 on here with 1 out, and Kaufman has run into some trouble after a 1-2-3 7th. He's allowed hit-by pitch, got a sac bunt, got the out. RBI single out to right, and now a second hit-by pitch, and it'll bring up Anthony DeGifico, who came on as a pinch hitter and walked back in the 6th.
Looks like Kaufman's having a little problem with the cold here. He's blowing on his hand a lot, wiping it on the pants, trying to get some blood flow there, get a little warm. I think that's what it was. I think the two-seam just got a little away from him there with that hit by pitch.
Can't really blame him. The temperature's only continuing to drop. The sun hasn't been out much today. First pitch is a little bit low, 1-0. A huge spot here as UMass Boston took the lead, had the momentum with the 3-run sixth. But now Southern Maine has responded with the single run in the eighth, and they have 2 on with the 1 out. Bobby Tramandozzi was throwing prior to Kaufman running into any trouble, but now the top is off. He's actually starting to really loosen out there. And I think this is more just trying to get Kaufman back in focus, but also it does allow Tramandozzi a couple extra pitches. As now we're going to see Daniel Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach, come out. And depending on what happens here, this could be Kaufman's last batter, DeGifico, with Tramandozzi, the LEC pitcher of the week, and a guy who has already set the program record for saves, getting closer and closer to being ready in this huge situation. I mean, these two teams will play next Tuesday, but for UMass Boston, you feel like you have to get one of two, and you probably need to win your home game to take the pressure off next Tuesday, where even if you lose, you'll still have a game lead over the Huskies, depending on what happens with both of these teams on Saturday.
Yeah, with only two-game series in this season, you always want to take that game one, takes pressure off in game two. And like you said, the home game, especially going to their place. Playing at Southern Maine's no easy task. And again, just going back to Kaufman, it looked like he was flexing the hand a little bit, trying to get that blood flow going. So I really think that could be the issue right here. He might not be feeling the stitches on the ball as well as he would like. And I think that was a little strategy maybe to get Tramandozzi loose there. Looks like he's settling down a little bit. He was going a little crazy trying to get loose, but it looks like he's really settled down. So it'll be interesting to see here.
Kaufman had a 1-2-3-7. He's run into problems here in the eighth. Ripped out to right center field, going back on his Pinellas. Looks like he has enough room in front of the track and makes the play. The runner at second wasn't tagging up, and that's a huge break for UMass Boston, as Hillier wanted to ensure that he could score on the play, and the benefit of UMass Boston's speed in the outfield is shown on that play, as Pinellas tracked it the whole way and made that play of maybe 2 to 3 feet in front of the Beacons bullpen. So a long fly ball to right center, and there's 2 down for Cole-Malanen, as Ayerbro's going to go to the pen for Bobby Tramandozzi, the Beacons closer, who, just like he did in Game 1 the other day, will come on with 2 outs in the eighth, trying to close out the final 4 outs, and maybe a save, maybe a win in this situation, as UMass Boston finds themselves in a tie game after the RBI single from Andrew Hillier. You see the raw numbers on the Beacons junior closer out of Peabody, Mass. 2-0, a 0.49 ERA. Comes in second behind Southern Maine's closer / second baseman, Jake Dexter, with his 6 saves on the year. 18 1/3 innings, which is tops amongst Beacons relievers. 17 strikeouts versus 3 walks. Opponents have just 9 hits in those 18 innings. 1 earned run. Opponents have hit 138 against him. He's thrown more than an inning 6 of his 12 previous appearances, and he's had 8 consecutive scoreless outings, looking for a 9th. Anthony, this is his 59th career appearance, which ties him with Dan Hefner for the program record, and he's just a junior. What makes Bobby Tramandozzi such a clutch arm for the Beacons out of the pen?
Tramandozzi is a guy, day in, day out, has his command. he could close games out. He could even start games. He came in Florida and threw, I think he came in the second, threw 5 or 6 innings and shut down a game that they played Oswego. He's just a guy who could really do it all. Him and Kaufman go hand in hand, and when both of their stuffs are on, it's deadly for hitters against this Beacon bullpen. But Bob's just a guy that you always have faith in, and like I said, just day in and day out has his stuff working for him.
Come in to face the freshman catcher Jason Komalainen. Komalainen walked in the second, flew out to right to end the fourth, and then hit into an inning-ending double play, 6-4-3 in the sixth, when it looked like Southern Maine might have all the momentum. It's one of 3 catchers on the roster, although just 2 healthy catchers. Hits one out to center. Frosceno ranges over, lets Pinellas make the play instead. That's one center fielder next to another. And the Beacons get out of the jam thanks to Bobby Tramandozzi. Head to the bottom of the 8th. Can the Beacons scratch across a run and retake the lead? We'll find out after this commercial break.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Very confusing defensive changes for Southern Maine, at least if you're here in the UMB press box. The second baseman is moved to pitcher. That's Jake Dexter, the closer for Southern Maine. So both teams going with their closer here in the 8th of a tie game. The first baseman, Hillier, who's been the top hitter for Southern Maine, is now the second baseman. And the DH, DeGifico, is now the first baseman. So no one came out of the game except for Ben Lambert, who went 7 innings and allowed 3 earned runs on 4 hits, struck out 10, and also issued 3 walks. Jack Harrington, who starts for UMass Boston here in the 8th inning, grounds out to the first baseman, DeGifico. And UMass Boston's first defensive change gets his first at bat. So both teams making some changes. The Beacons, though, making more defensive changes. So Dexter can stay in and hit if need be, as long as he's still pitching. And it'll bring up Dave Murphy. Murphy today has walked twice and struck out swinging, all against Lambert. So it's 0-1 to Dave, who leads the conference with his 10 home runs. This was pegged as a big battle in the Little East, and it's been just as good as we expected. Southern Maine took a 1-0 lead in the 4th, a 1-0 lead in the 6th, loaded the bases up with 1 out, and Joey Rogers got an inning-ending double play. Murphy hits it softly over to Hillier, who's now at second base, and the Beacons a slow start to the 8th inning on a pair of groundouts on the right side. UMass Boston responded with 3 runs in the 6th. An RBI double from Eddie Riley, a sacrifice fly from the man who steps up to the plate, Chris Fowler, and a 2-out RBI single from Kyle Boudris. Southern Maine able to respond again. Andrew Hillier, who's had a single, a double, and a triple today, along with 2 RBI and a run scored, tying the game in the 8th against Brian Kaufman. And now both closers, Bobby Tramandozzi and Jake Dexter, out for their respective sides. 1-0 to Fowler, who takes it low. Dexter is a tremendous pitcher, making his team-leading 13th appearance, 2-1 with a 1.84 ERA. Leads the conference with 8 saves. Won't pick one up here, as there's a swing and a miss from Fowler, at least not at this point. 14 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 20 strikeouts versus 2 walks. Opponents hit 179 against him. It's going to be interesting to see if either team can scratch across a run against these closers, as Fowler hits it over the left side, and an easy play for Hillier ranging towards the first base bag. So UMass Boston goes 1-2-3 in the 8th. We head to the 9th of a 3-3 game.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Well, we've got at least one more inning in this one, but we've got quite a few more this week here at Monon Park. Beacons host Salem State at top team in the MASCAC tomorrow at 3. Keene State for 18 innings, presumably on Saturday at noon and 3, and then they travel to Southern Maine next Tuesday. If you're a Southern Maine fan, well, you have just as many chances to see your team at home this week. Southern Maine will host Endicott tomorrow, Babson on Thursday, 2 against Plymouth State on Saturday, another game against Salve Regina on Sunday, and then host UMass Boston next Tuesday. So to BL Elfring, the Hall of Fame SID up at Southern Maine, good luck and good baseball. First pitch of the top of the 9th is a breaking ball that just misses, as it'll be 9-1-2 for the Huskies here in the 9th. Same group that went down 1-2-3 in the 7th. Tramandozzi catches the inside corner. Triana 0 for 3, a strikeout swinging, reached on a pass ball. Flew out to center and grounded out to short. 1-1 hit out to center. Frosceno a couple steps, and he will make the catch on the can of corn. Triana now 0 for 4.
Right fielder, number 7, Zach Quintal.
Leadoff hitter Zach Quintal has walked once, reached on a fielder's choice to end the second, flew out to left, and grounded out to third. Final line on Brian Kaufman. Went 1 2/3 innings, allowed 1 hit, 1 run, 1 earned. No strikeouts, no walks, but the 2 hit by pitches are what really killed him. The Beacons went from ahead 3-2 to tied 3-3 during his outing. Tramandozzi got the last out of the 8th with 2 on, and now is looking for his first full complete inning. The sun finally has come back here at Monon. 1-0 pitch, fouled off. 1-1 to Quintal. Leadoff hitter and right fielder, who was a former Gatorade Player of the Year in Maine, runner-up for Mr. Baseball. His senior year, he hit .440 with a 0.88 ERA. Which of those numbers is more impressive to you?
I'm not too familiar with Maine baseball, but I don't know, that ERA, that's incredible. That's almost unheard of.
Yeah, that is quite good. There's a couple of guys on Southern Maine who had some really strong pitching numbers who are position players at Southern Maine. That one's fouled off, including LaBerge, who started today as the DH for DeGifico before being replaced by their typical DH. Quintal, a second-team All-Conference player a season ago out of Elliott, Maine. Stands at 5'10", 175. Tramandozzi's 1-2 offering is just off the corner, trying to get Quintal to chase 2-2. Quintal has reached in 20 of 22 games coming into today and has had 3 or more RBI in 4 games, including Game 2 on Friday against Western. Pops that one up. It'll get out of play on a defensive check swing. Staying alive here against Tramandozzi, who is throwing some pretty good breaking stuff up there, but Quintal not giving in on the fight. Quintal to be followed by Jake Dexter, and then if it gets there, a big bopper in the middle of the order, Dylan Hapworth. 2-2, flare down the third base line. They're going to call it a foul ball. Home plate umpire Tom Breiberg took his time and then called that one foul. And Anthony, you were in agreement.
Yeah, I agree with that. Up here, it's a tough call from up here, but it looked like it was just a little left of the bag. And I think Eddie Riley, just the way that he dove, I think would have maybe even tipped it if it was a little fair, or maybe even had it. So I did agree with that call, even though it was close. Could have went either way.
The 2-2, and that one is on the outside corner. Quintal knew it. A delayed call from Ryberg as he's really enjoyed extending his call third strike looking. First strikeout for Tramandozzi and the 7th of the day for Southern Maine hitters. So now the pitcher will face the pitcher. Closer versus closer. Pair of North Shore Navigators facing off against each other.
Now we just got to get Tramandozzi in at bat versus Dexter and see how it goes.
I think that would be a lot more unfair. It's the 0-1 coming to Dexter, who started the game at second base. Saw it off on the hands. Long throw from Riley in there in time. And now we head to the bottom of the 9th. Can the Beacons walk off here at home for the first time? We'll find out. It's 5, 6, 7 upcoming for UMass Boston after this commercial break.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Jake Dexter out for his second full inning. And Anthony, you do have a little bit of insider info for me. I made a joke about Bobby hitting, but it wouldn't be his first at bat since stepping onto the college level. With the Navigators, apparently he had just the one at bat.
Yeah, he had a sac fly. He's got the video on his phone. He doesn't let people forget. And Bobby actually, when he was a little younger, like high school and younger, played a pretty good third base from what we're told. He played travel ball with Coach Kevin Kelly, the associate head coach for the Beacons, and used to be a pretty solid defender and a decent hitter. So maybe be a little more interesting than we would expect.
Well, both of these closers and former Navigators are guys who can go multiple innings. UMass Boston would love to end it right here, but probably see more of Tramandozzi in the 10th if it gets that far, as no one's warming for the Beacons. Herzog ahead, 2-0 in the count. Remember, he had the big 3-run homer last year against Southern Maine here at home in a 9-1 win. He's 0 for 3 with a pair of strikeouts today. 2-0 to him, taking, and it's just a little bit low, 3-0. Got to imagine that he'll have the red light here with base runners at a premium. 3-0 pitch. That one catches the plate. Again, low, but a little bit more over the white, and it's 3-1.
It'd be interesting to see Herzog get on here. It seemed like the first 2 pitches, even the third pitch of this at bat, catcher had a little trouble sticking Dexter's pitches. Maybe they were a little out, maybe a little low, but it'd be interesting to see Zog get on and see what can happen here for the Beacons.
Herzog with tremendous speed, 9 of 9 on the base pass, but he's not going to get a chance. He goes down swinging for the 3rd time today. That is 11 strikeouts on the day for Southern Maine pitchers. And it'll bring up Kyle Boudris, who has the big hit today for UMass Boston, the go-ahead RBI single with 2 down back in the 6th. That gave the Beacons a 3-2 edge at that point. Southern Maine led 1-0, 2-0, and then trailed 3-2 before tying the game in the 8th as Boudris takes a slider on the outside half, 0-1. Boudris to be followed by Sal Frosceno because the Beacons made those defensive changes when they had the lead. 0-1 way outside, 1-1. Beacons with one less option off the bench today because Joey Rogers started. He was in line for the win when he left after going 6 innings as Boudris fouls it off himself. Southern Maine doesn't have that many options off the bench today, and if Dexter were to come out of this game, they'd lose the designated hitter. So they'd have to use some of those pinch hitters, and they've already pinch hit for one of their designated hitters, Tanner LeBird. So this one goes the distance. We could be seeing some position players who don't see as much time coming in key spots. The 1-2 to Boudris, well outside, and Dexter goes into a kind of half split there, struggling with his footing. The mound has looked pretty good today. UMass Boston does have a nice tarp to go over the Monin Park mound, which was huge after all the rain we saw Sunday and Monday. 2-2 to Boudris, hits it through the right side, and he's aboard, and this could be a pinch running opportunity as Boudris, the game-winning run perhaps, in the 9th, and I think he expects it. We're going to see a pinch runner. I believe it'll be Nick Catraro, who's been the Beacons' designated pinch runner as of late, and we're just waiting. It's going to be Danny Brown, actually, for UMass Boston, the Hudson, New Hampshire native, who will come on for Boudris, who is dealing with some leg injuries, part of the reason why he's not playing the field. And Boudris gets the job done, his 2nd consecutive hit. He ends the day 2 for 4. A day, you said that his bad days are 2-hit days. I think he would feel he had a decent day after ending the day with a pair of hits. And now Brown, who's pretty fleet of foot, will be out there at first base. Danny started the year as the Beacons' top reserve outfielder. Got injured in practice running the bases the first week. Missed a couple of weeks, but is back. And the Beacons, this might be a bunt opportunity or maybe a hit-and-run opportunity with 2 very quick hitters or runners in Frosceno and Brown as Frosceno takes a pitch on the outside half, 0-1.
It's a very interesting call by the Beacon coaching staff. As you were talking about the benches, Danny Brown looked like he was behind the Beacon's dugout getting some swings in, maybe for a pinch hit opportunity. So it is a little shock not to.
Chopper back up the middle. Hillier's going to tag the runner. The throw down to first is in time. Andrew Hillier's done it all today for Southern Maine, and we're going to extras. Blame Alyssa Fugel if you wanted to do something else. She called it 2 innings ago. It's Southern Maine 3, UMass Boston 3, a battle of nationally ranked teams going to extras, and this is the first of 2 LEC matchups between these two sides.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Top of the 10th inning, first extra inning game of the season, I believe, here at Monin. Haven't looked at the schedule, but I'm 95% sure. As the ball is ripped out to left, playing the hitter to pull was Herzog, so it'll just be a single for Dylan Hapworth on a line drive out to left field, and that's a good start for the Huskies, who went down 1-2-3 in the ninth against Bobby Tramandozzi. Tramandozzi came on with 2 outs in the 8th and had retired everyone he had faced. It's just the 10th hit that he's allowed now in 20 innings of work. 19 2/3. It's a lot of hard math there, adding the 1s and the 2s and the.
That's impressive. I mean, just knowing Bobby Tramandozzi and catching for a few years, it's not too shocking, but it's impressive nonetheless. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see Southern Maine bunt here. They did it the 2 innings ago when they had the same situation. So there it is.
Devin Warren gets the bunt down in front of the mound. Tramandozzi fields and throws a better throw than we saw from Kaufman a couple innings ago. A little bit less drama there. And it's a 1-3 sack bunt. So the cleanup hitter twice today has put down a sacrifice bunt. Last time in the 8th, they were down a run. This time trying to get a go-ahead run in the top of the 10th. Brings up Andrew Hillier, and maybe this is why they're bunting. Andrew Hillier grounded out to short to end the first. Since then, he tripled off the top of the center field wall and scored in the 4th. An RBI double past Fowler. This is going to be an intentional walk. The Beacons are intentionally walking Hillier here with first base open, and if you had to pinpoint a guy you were going to intentionally walk in today's game, it would not have been Hillier coming in, but he added a RBI double in the 6th and then an RBI single over the head of Murphy back in the 8th to tie it, and Brendan Eigerbro's had enough of Andrew Hillier beating him today. Coming into today, Andrew Hillier, the redshirt sophomore out of Bangor, Maine, was hitting .380 with 10 RBI and 9 runs scored, had 1 double, 1 triple, and 1 home run. He'll have to wait for his opportunity to get to the cycle, as there's now 2 on after the rare intentional walk. UMass Boston doesn't do it frequently. 2 on with 1 out for Andrew Olzak. The nice thing about this is it does allow you to get the double play, the force out at third base, and Tramandozzi does throw a lot of ground balls. Olzak today has singled back in the 6th. He's also grounded out. Both runners take off, and it catches the hand of Harrington there. I'm not sure if it was a foul ball or off the swing of Olzak. Either way, the Beacons will be content to see both runners go back on the double steal on the first pitch of the at-bat. Really aggressive move from Ed Flaherty.
That's a very interesting call. I mean, that looked like a designed hit and run there, especially with that swing that we just saw. But, yeah, no, very aggressive. I mean, he has hit the ball on the ground twice today. Actually, 3 times he's got a single, as well as 2 ground balls. So maybe they know the swing a little more than we do, but definitely an aggressive play there. I mean, you don't want the double play. So, I mean, I think it's going to be off now, as we didn't see him go on the second pitch, and I wouldn't expect him to go 0-2. But, I mean, I wonder what was going on and what Flaherty was thinking there. I mean, not a coach you'd really doubt, but definitely interesting nonetheless.
0-2 to Olzak after he swung and missed at an outside fastball. Couldn't quite catch up to it. The runner at second base is Hapworth. He singled and moved to second on a sac bunt. Hillier worked the intentional walk, a rarity, flared out towards foul territory on the right side. That is going to get over the fence, and I'm not sure if any of the Beacons were going to get there anyways. So there is 1 out with 2 on and an 0-2 count here to start the top of the 10th inning. Over at the UMB softball field, they might be looking at extra innings as well. Top of the 7th inning, 3-3 with a couple runners on for Southern Maine and 2 down. Beacons try to get Olzak chasing, but he holds off on the high fastball. For UMass Boston, this is their first extra inning of the game of the season. They played 2 mercy rule games, but no extra inning games. And for Southern Maine, they played just 1 extra inning game. Hit over to the second baseman Murphy hard. A chance for 2. 4-6-3. The Beacons get another twin killing, and Bobby Tramandozzi has worked 2 complete, 2 1/3 total, and has done the job. We head to the bottom of the 10th inning. For the Beacons, it'll be 8-9-1 as they look for that elusive 4th run of the day.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than. So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Jake Dexter trying to match his former teammate. Scoreless inning for scoreless inning. The Beacons are going to bring in a pinch hitter here for Wanderson Penales. So UMass Boston making some interesting changes. Although Danny Brown in the DH spot could easily be a defensive replacement for Nick Palma if they elect to not use Palma in the field. Palma has not seen time in a while. He's one of the Beacons' top players off the bench in terms of hitting on the season, 3 of 14 with 3 runs scored. A freshman out of Peabody, Mass. 2-time league all-star and silver slugger at Peabody High School. Football and baseball player in high school where he won 1 league title in baseball. Earned his lone collegiate start in game number 2 against EastCon. Went 0 for 3. Appeared in just 2 of the last 8 games with a pinch hit single against Brandeis last Tuesday. And here he leads off the bottom of the 10th. An interesting choice as they replace Penales, who had gone 0 for 2 with a strikeout and also put down a sac bunt. Palma right back to Warren, who not surprisingly fields his position well. And Dexter easily makes the play, 1-3 for the first out of the 10th. Brings up Charlie Hughie, who sparked the Beacons back in the 6th with a bloop double. Came in to score. He's 1 for 3 today with a double, a fly out to left, and a ground out to the shortstop. First pitch to him, right down Broad Street, 0-1. Hughie to be followed by Riley and then Harrington if it gets that far. Jack Harrington came on as a defensive replacement in the 7th and will be seeing his potentially second at bat already in this game. Hughie takes it under the hands, but on the corner, 1-2. Already 28 pitches for Dexter, who played at second to start, came on in relief in the 8th, and has now gone 2 1/3. 1-2, swung on and missed. Just the second strikeout for Dexter, and Hughie is down 12 strikeouts today for UMass Boston hitters.
Dexter has no signs of slowing down either. His stuff's still working. He's still pinpointing his pitches, and he's looking real good. So, and Southern Maine doesn't have anyone warming up, so it looks to be like it's Dexter's game for now.
Breaking ball, maybe a little high there or outside to Eddie Riley, who has struck out 3 times, but also had an RBI double for the Beacons' first run of the game and came in to score the second. So, not the greatest day, but did come up big when the Beacons needed it most. 2-0. Southern Maine has Colton Lawrence, a trusted reliever out there if they need him, although he's yet to warm up. The 2-0 is inside, 3-0 now. You have to figure if UMass Boston were to go to the pen again, it would likely be Joe McGuire, as both teams are going to use their best arms today in this pivotal conference matchup. On the outside corner with the changeup, 3-1. It's a tougher spot for UMass Boston with Harrington in the game versus McCormick because Harrington doesn't have the pop that McCormick does. 3-1 swung on and missed on the inside fastball, now 3-2. Bottom of the 10th inning. Beacons took a 3-2 lead in the 5th, and Southern Maine tied it, rather in the 6th. Southern Maine tied it in the 8th. 3-2 pitch coming to Riley. 3-2 offering, hit over the right side, long run for Hillier, not going to make the play. And the Beacons have a base runner here in extras. A single just past the reach of Hillier, who started the game at first base, now over at second. Another one of those versatile players for the Huskies, and it's a chance for the UMass Dartmouth transfer Jack Harrington to get his biggest hit as a Beacon. Jack, a junior out of Barnstable, Mass., played his first 2 years at Southern Maine. He's 3 for 23 as a Beacon, 3 runs scored, 3 RBI. He's the Beacon's closer behind the plate, but right now he comes up in a big spot in a tie game in the bottom of the 10th. First pitch to Harrington. Change up on the outside half, 0-1. Riley runs well, although I don't really know if you would run in this situation because otherwise you have Harrington lead off the next inning with Murphy and Fowler potentially coming up with outs on the board. Not to say Harrington can't come through here, but statistics would say that he's less likely to than those two characters. 0-1 to Harrington. Takes another breaking ball, 0-2. It's a tough spot. You come off the bench today, it's cold, and now you're facing one of the top pitchers in all of New England.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, but Jack, he's got his own LEC experience playing over at Dartmouth for 2 years, so he knows the pressure and he knows how it feels. So he can definitely come through here. I would have liked to see him a little more aggressive in his at-bat.
0-2 hit out to right center. This one could get down, and it's going to get down into right center. One bounces the wall. What a bad break for the Beacons. It would have been a game-winning double, and instead it's a ground roll double. I don't know if I've seen a ball bounce over the wall that deep into right center, and instead of being a walk-off from Harrington, who just had his first extra base hit as the Beacon, it's a ground roll double, and the Beacons were inches away from winning this one. Riley was already at third base when that ball bounced over the wall, and the Beacons now need Dave Murphy to step up in the clutch.
That's a tough break for Harrington there. I mean, like you said, his first extra base hit, but just to win this game, especially how big it is for the standings, that would have been an unreal at bat for Jack Harrington.
And the fact that I don't know if I've seen a ground roll double anywhere but to right field in this park. I mean, you don't see ground roll doubles at Fenway unless it's out to right field. And for him to do it to right center and such a high bounce out in right center, that one bounced into the Beacons bullpen just shy of the 420 mark. An absolute terrible break for the Beacons as neither outfielder was close to it. And now it comes down to Dave Murphy versus Jake Dexter. This is the battle you want for both teams. The Beacons' top hitter in terms of power, in terms of production, versus Southern Maine's top reliever. This is going to be real interesting. First pitch to Dexter. Breaking ball over the plate. Now, first base is open, but Chris Fowler might be an even worse matchup if you're Southern Maine, lefty versus righty. Murphy on the day has walked twice, struck out once, grounded out to second. Hits it right back to the pitcher. And Southern Maine gets out of a jam thanks to the worst of breaks for UMass Boston. A ball that bounced too high off the turf, and instead of being out of here on a walk-off double from Harrington, we head to the 11th, and again, the blame falls on Alyssa Fugel.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Well, we go an inning further than we maybe thought we would. Certainly after that blast from Harrington that was easily going to score Riley if not for a high bounce into the Beacons bullpen. Beacons will send Danny Brown out to right field. The only question is whether the Beacons lose the DH. We'll find that out when the Beacons hit, well, who knows? We might never see the 8 spot again depending on how this game goes. Palma came in for Wanderson Pinales, but now has been replaced in right by Danny Brown, with Brown moving from DH to right. Let's focus on the top of the 11th for you now, as Bobby Tramandozzi, who came on for the last out of the 8th, will pitch his 3rd complete inning we expect. It's the DH, DeGifico, followed by Komalainen and Triana, 7, 8, 9. DeGifico gifted maybe a pitch there. It looked pretty good on the outside half, 1-0. DeGifico came on as a pinch hitter for the DH, walked and flew out to right center. Flares one out past the shortstop Hugian for the 2nd consecutive inning in extra innings. Southern Maine has a leadoff base runner on a leadoff single. Bring up Jason Komalainen, who has walked, flown out to right, grounded into an inning-ending 6-4-3 double play, and flew out to right with 2 aboard in the 8th. And again, this has got to be a bunting situation if you're Southern Maine.
Yeah, if they're going to bunt with the 4-hitter, they're definitely going to bunt here. I still can't get over that double by Harrington. I still can't believe that hopped over the fence there. I'm still hung up on it a little bit, looking out, trying to figure out how exactly it happened.
It was a high hop.
Incredible. I've never seen that.
That's a 6-foot fence.
I mean, he crushed it too. He must have just hit the one spot on the turf that could do that, because I've never seen that happen either. That was something else. I mean, kudos to Harrington. That was a great 2-strike swing and a big swing at that. But geez, I still can't get over that.
Bunt is put down on the third base side. Riley looked at second, instead goes the short way to first. And wasn't the greatest of bunts from Komalainen, but his 2nd collegiate sack bunt will get the job done, a 5-3 sack, and it moves DeGifico up to second base with just the 1 out for Sam Triana. Freshman 0 for 4 at third base. He struck out swinging, reached on a pass ball, flew out to center, grounded out to short, and flew out to center. Saw the Beacons send a reliever out there. It looks like the Beacons actually have double barrel action right now potentially going. I'm going to say that Mike Doherty's one of the relievers. Might be Chris Monroe who was just sent out, a little smaller of a guy. So we are going to see Southern Maine potentially make a change. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a pinch runner. So DeGifico's day is done. It's the 3rd hitter that's hit in the DH spot today. And it's going to be number 34 for Southern Maine, who has not had an appearance hitting this season. This will be Henry Curran, one of the team's relievers. Junior left-handed pitcher out of South Portland, Maine, will come on for DeGifico. So this is getting really interesting because Curran could end up being a pitcher in the DH spot, and Dexter could stay in the, I don't know if Dexter could move back to second base, and then they'd lose either Hillier or DeGifico was playing first base, so they wouldn't lose Dexter. What brilliant maneuvering from Ed Flaherty, who's miles ahead of me. Go figure, he's won 990 baseball games. He's probably pretty good at maneuvering around with his lineup.
Definitely a guy not to doubt, and I think the interesting thing is I'm pretty sure the pinch runner here came out of the bullpen. He looked like he sprinted around in front of the Beacons dugout and threw his jacket into the Southern Maine dugout as he went out to second base. So it's definitely an interesting call there.
Curran, one of the team's better relievers, 12 appearances out of the pen, 1-0 with a 2.51 ERA. We'll get to his pitching numbers if he does come in the bottom of the 11th. It's interesting right now. That should do it for Dexter, who did throw 3 innings of work. You don't want to overtax a guy. Obviously, this game is important, but if you potentially lost Dexter because of an injury for working too many innings, that would be a lot worse. So we mentioned that the number 1 seed is great, but you still got to win the LEC tournament. Great backhand stab from Harrington to keep the ball in front. Triano is behind in the count 1-2, and Curran, well, can't tell you anything about how his wheels are.
And it's actually interesting because I didn't even see Curran. I mean, I didn't have eyes on in the Southern Maine bullpen, but it didn't look like anyone was up. So I wonder if he is the pitcher of choice, if he's coming in cold, or if he did happen to get a few pitches down the bullpen.
Well, it would make sense because Chris Fowler is going to lead off the bottom of the 11th to have a lefty versus lefty matchup. I just wonder if he'll stay in for multiple batters or if he's just coming in to attack the Beacons honorable mention All-American. 2-2 now, and that one nearly caught him. Tramandozzi ahead in the count 0-2 and now has issued 3 consecutive balls. First base is open, but if you walk Triana, you have the top of the order on with just the 1 out. He can still have those 2 relievers throwing just in case Tramandozzi begins to slow. 3-2 is just a bit high on the outside corner. And Tramandozzi has issued his second free pass, an intentional walk and just your regular walk to bring up Zach Quintal.
The right fielder,
Quintal has struck out, walked, hit into a fielder's choice, flew out to left, and grounded out to third base. Still looking for that first hit of the day. He's got 2 ducks on the pond with 1 out with Jake Dexter, the second baseman slash pitcher slash probably second baseman of the future, due up next. Beacons have gotten a couple double play balls in these situations. Got an inning-ending double play 6-4-3 in the 6th with 2 on and 1 out, and an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play in the exact same situation in the 10th. They'd love it a third time around. Curran at second, came on as a pinch runner, and Triana at first after the 6-pitch walk. Southern Maine softball just took the lead in the top of the 8th, 5-3 against UMass Boston. 0-1 hit back up the middle, high bounce, and Hugie keeps it on the infield. And a play at second, he got him! What a play from Charlie Hugie! It looked like it was going to end up in the outfield. Instead, Hugie ranges, and a quick throw to beat Triana, who thought he might be safe, didn't slide in, and that could be a game-saving play. So put that one down in your score sheet of a possible game-saving play. Charlie Hugie started the offense going in the 6th, and then a huge fielder's choice. Runners at the corners now with 2 down for Jake Dexter, and we'll see if Tramandozzi can get Dexter for a second consecutive time. Got him to ground into a 5-3 out of the last time. Tries to put down the bunt. Tramandozzi will go to first. The long throw. It's in time in front of a sliding Dexter. And the Beacons have 2 phenomenal defensive plays to get out of a jam here in the 11th. Tramandozzi is fired up, as are we in the press box. We head to the bottom of the 11th. UMass Boston, another chance to walk off here at Monin Park.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
Okay, because 24 is in the first base. That's confusing me. So we've got a new first baseman for Southern Maine. They're going to continue with Jake Dexter for a 4th inning of work. The new first baseman is James Sinclair, the freshman pitcher out of Portland, Maine, who has seen a couple of at-bats this year. This bench doesn't go all that deep for Southern Maine. Sinclair, 6'4", 210, so he's got some good height on any potential throws. Has appeared in 2 games as a position player, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Actually started at first base in Florida versus Washington University St. Louis. Dexter's first pitch to Fowler's right down the middle. 0-1 to the Beacons cleanup hitter who grounded back to the second baseman in his only at bat against Dexter back in the 8th. That's when Dexter came on 1-1. Really interesting point, Anthony. You said off air that Bobby Tramandozzi is one of the few players who actually could make that play for UMass Boston. As Dexter nearly gave his team the lead with the bunt, but tremendous athleticism and cognizance on Tramandozzi's part.
Yeah, Tram's an athlete in his own. Like we were saying before, former third baseman, but having to barehand that, just knowing that he needed to get it off quick. I think him, and you made a good point as well, Fernando Burgos, probably the top two, maybe even the two that could even made that play. I mean, that's a great play, not taking anything away from any of the pitchers, but that's just a phenomenal play. And then Bob knowing he had to barehand that and get it over quick, it was just a tremendous play there.
First pitch to Herzog is on the outside corner after Fowler went down swinging for the second time today. 3 strikeouts now for Dexter over 4 frames. Dexter has allowed just 2 hits for UMass Boston. The 0-1 is put down a bunt, but it's going to go foul as Herzog was just trying to get himself aboard. Both teams have had base runners in every inning of extra innings. The Beacons thought they had walked off, but Jack Harrington's absolute bomb of a double, one bounced the wall and got over into the bullpen to keep the Beacons off the board in the 10th as Herzog takes it off the corner. 1-2 now to Nick, who has struck out 3 times and flown out to center, trying to avoid the golden sombrero. And there it is. Nick Herzog not having his day today. He struck out 4 times, and the Beacons have struck out 14 times now on the day. Danny Brown grounds it over to Sinclair. Difficult play, and he's not going to get there in time as Dexter fell onto the bag, lost his footing, and the Beacons have a base runner with 2 down for the second time in 3 innings and the second time in extra innings. As Brown beats it out, Sinclair's first real action in this game, and did the job, but Sinclair wasn't quite able to get there. It was a bang-bang play at first, and I do think Brown, watching the replay, did get there in time. Brown, who came on as a pinch runner for Kyle Boudris back in the 9th, is aboard with 2 down in the 11th. Frosceno shows bunt, pulls it back, 0-1. Looking at Brown this season, this is just his 5th appearance. He's now 2 for 5. He is 1 for 1 on the base pass. We haven't seen UMass Boston steal a base yet today. Brown, a former quarterback in New Hampshire, very successful one in high school, as Frosceno takes a fastball on the inside half, 0-2. Sal came on back in the 7th inning and grounded into a 4-3 double play to end regulation. Throw over to first. Dexter tries to close out his 4th inning. Danny, as a freshman, played in 43 games, mostly as a defensive replacement, stole 5 of 6 bases, playing at second and outfield. And Brown takes off. Frosceno holds up, and Brown is in scoring position with 2 down. Good job there by Brown using the wheels to reach and now to steal. He's 2 for 2, and the Beacons potentially a single away from winning this.
This is a huge at-bat here. Frosceno just needs to put the ball in play. With his speed, he could do exactly what Danny Brown just did, even in the infield.
Hits it through the left side. They're going to send Brown. Hapworth picks it up. Brown is chugging home. It's a good throw home. The tag is not there. The Beacons walk off. Sal Frosceno, the hero, and Danny Brown comes on and scores the game-winning run as the Beacons win 4-3 in 11, and they down the Huskies to extend their winning streak to 12, and UMass Boston all alone in first place in the LEC by 2 games at the midway point of the conference season. What a huge hit for a guy who had been scuffling, and Frosceno and the center of the Beacons mob out there at second base.
And you know what the funniest part about that, Seth, is Tramandozzi, I believe, was on deck. If we were right in that and he would have had to hit because the DH would have been taken away. He would have been on deck there, so that would have been an interesting call by the Beacons coaching staff. But Frosceno comes through clutch, and we don't have to see that. So thank God for that. And it was a great hit by Frosceno there, just taking that ball the other way.
Well, UMass Boston wins it by a 4-3 score. Their 9th hit the first time they had been out hitting the Huskies all day long. Let's take a look at the highlights right now before we sign off. This was a phenomenal game from start to finish. Remember, we had a pitcher's duel through about 5.5 innings between Ben Lambert and Joey Rogers. Both guys had tremendous outings, but in the end, it's the hitters who end it. We'll play it with you with the initial audio, and then we'll give you our final thoughts and close out here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
There were no home runs in the
Leads the entire conference with a 424 average, 39 of 92. Rips it, and Riley makes a diving play. That could save 1, if not 2 runs, and to win it in even longer. 2 surprise champions as Andrew Hillier sends this one deep to center. Wind's blowing out, and that one's off the top of the wall. This could be 3. Coming over is Herzog, and Andrew Hillier has himself a leadoff triple. Little bit of wind needed, but that ball was absolutely crushed by Hillier, a sophomore. Ball hit past the first baseman Fowler on a hit and run. There's going to be runners at first and third, potentially more. They're going to send the runner around third base. The throw to Fowler, and the Beacons are not going to get him at time. A perfectly executed hit and run, and Andrew Hillier is 0 for 1, a fly out to right, and a walk. Hits it right at the middle. Double play ball. Hugie to Murphy across, and the Beacons get out of a jam here. Rider for strike 1. Surprised he wasn't bunting there. 0-1 pitch. Hits it down the third base line. Fair ball. Eddie Riley answers with a double, and here comes Hugie in to score. The Beacons lead off with back-to-back doubles. Their second and third hits of the game. Their first 2 game 2 as part of a 6-run 5th. Boudreaux flares it out, and it's past the third baseman. They're going to send McCormick, charging his Hapworth. The throw home. McCormick slides in, and he's safe. It's a go-ahead RBI single from Kyle Boudreaux. Inning games, and for Southern Maine, they played just 1 extra inning game. Hit over to the second baseman, Murphy, hard. A chance for 2. 4-6-3. The Beacons get another twin.
I would have liked to see him a little more aggressive in his at-bat.
0-2 hit out to right center. This one could get down, and it's going to get down into right center. One bounces the wall. What a bad break for the Beacons. It would have been a game-winning double, and instead it's a ground roll double. I don't know if I've seen a ball bounce. 0-1 hit back up the middle, a high bounce, and Hugie keeps it on the infield. And a play at second, he got him. What a play from Charlie Hugie. Danny Brown grounds it over to Sinclair. Difficult play, and he's not going to get there in time as Dexter fell onto the bag, lost his footing. And
the ball in play with his speed, he could do exactly what Danny Brown just did, even in the infield.
Hits it through the left side. They're going to send Brown. Hapworth picks it up. Brown is chugging home. It's a good throw home. The tag is not there. The Beacons walk off. Sal Frosceno, the hero, and Danny Brown comes on and scores the game-winning run as the Beacons win 4-3 in 11, and they down the Huskies to extend their winning streak. Sal Frosceno, the hero, he came on as a defensive replacement, finished 1 for 2, a walk-off RBI single. And Anthony, we talked about that play off air. Dylan Hapworth might have had a chance to get him if he didn't double clutch a little bit there. If he'd gotten in the air, that was a close play as it was. And the difference of inches, we saw with Charlie Hugie at second base in the top of the 11th. The Beacons maybe making 1 more defensive play today than Southern Maine. And UMass Boston, 12 wins in a row, but most importantly, 7-0 in conference play. The Beacons have never started 6-0. Now they're 7-0. Program record for conference wins is 11, and the Beacons could be chugging towards their most successful conference season in program history and their second LEC regular season title in 3 years.
Yeah, this team is no joke. I mean, I think everyone sees that, and they have in the past few years, but like you said, that play from Hugie, diving up the middle and getting that out at second base, that was huge. Might have been the play of the game other than the obvious Frosceno walk-off. But, I mean, that was just a tremendous game. Just what we expected from the top 2 teams in the league and just teams that have had like a good rivalry over the past few years.
Well, you know what the fun part is? These 2 teams play again next Tuesday up at Southern Maine. My guess is we're going to see the exact same 2 pitchers start, and it could be another really exciting game. Hopefully they're in for extra innings because We don't want any more extra innings here at Monon Park. The Beacons win their first extra inning game of the season. Southern Maine falls to 1-1. They defeated UMass Dartmouth a couple weeks ago. Let's take a moment to look ahead. UMass Boston with a couple more games during this homestand. Beacons will be back in action tomorrow at 3 p.m. You can see the Beacons go for their 13th win in a row. That would tie the program record set each of the past 2 years. The Beacons will host Salem State tomorrow. Then they host Keene State for a doubleheader on Saturday. And then next Tuesday at Southern Maine. Southern Maine, a couple of big non-conference games in between now and then as well. That'll do it for us. But first, a big shout-out to our production team. For those of us in the press box, we did a good job. For everybody outside, they did a tremendous job fighting the elements. It was not warm out there, despite the fact that it looked a little bit sunny. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Anthony Searles on the call. He helped out directing to open the game, but Rachel Maslak took over the final 9+ innings. Alyssa Fugel did a great job on graphics, but also jinxed us into going to extra innings. So just throw a little jab there. Marcelo Cunha up top, dealing with 20-mile-per-hour winds in his face, and Julian Nolan and Mike Mulligan down low doing a great job bringing you all of the views of this game. The Beacons win 4-3-11. Thanks so much for watching, folks. It was a thrilling contest here at Monon Park between two nationally ranked sides.